And we welcome you to Dolphin Stadium in Miami. The 2009 World Baseball Classic continues. Round 2, and from Pool 2, it's the United States and the Netherlands in an elimination game. Take a look at the standings here in Pool 2, and from Miami, both Puerto Rico and Venezuela with wins. Puerto Rico a mercy rule win over the U.S., so these two teams get together, and the loser goes home. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us. John Shambi alongside Buck Martinez, and we had breaking news last night. Dustin Pedroia injured, and here again today. The Netherlands right now is protesting Brian Roberts' eligibility. Really, the fact that Brian Roberts is on the U.S. roster, and will he be eligible for round 2 of this tournament? Buck, we'll see how that one plays out, but MLB feels like they have made the right decision. Now onto the game as far as tonight, and as far as this one is concerned, Rod Delmonico got to get some offense.
Well, and he's going to do that by putting in his backup catcher in the DH spot. It's a real roll of the dice, but Sidney DeYoung has been the most consistent hitter. He got the things going in the bottom of the 11th inning with a double off Carlos Marmol. That would fuel the comeback. Then he got a base hit against Puerto Rico in a pinch hitting situation. He is injured, 85%. That's what Rod Delmonico says. He broke his wrist in the summertime, but did not have surgery until December 22nd. But he's hitting cleanup tonight for the Netherlands.
Yeah, they have their hands full against the diminutive starter for the United States. He's the definition of an ace, Roy Oswalt.
Well, he sure is, John. And I think the one thing Oswalt understands is he's got to stretch this start out tonight and keep this Netherlands team in check. They don't hit much, but he is going to be challenged to make sure he stays in the game long. He's got a great fastball, as he showed in Toronto. He has the ability now to stretch out his pitch count up near that 85 pitch limit. He's the key to this game tonight from the mound. Offensively, Team USA is looking at 2 losses in a row. They have not swung the bats well with guys in scoring position. Javier Vasquez neutralized them with a combination of good fastballs, great off-speed pitches, and wicked breaking balls. They've got to get somebody in this lineup hot. The frustration is building with this ball club, and nothing seems to be working right now.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out tonight. The loser goes home, an elimination game. The U.S. and the Netherlands. It'll be Roy Oswalt and Rick Vandenherk. And the first pitch is coming your way next. The following is a special presentation of the World Baseball Classic. For one underdog and one championship favorite, it was a forgettable opening day in Miami. In Game 1, the Cinderella Kids from the Kingdom of the Netherlands ran into a Venezuelan buzzsaw. And for Team USA in the nightcap, it was frustration from beginning to end, resulting in an unthinkable mercy rule. Tonight, they'll meet with their tournament lives at stake. Will the clock strike midnight on the Dutch, or will the powerful Americans see their trophy run come to an early end yet again? Find out next. And we welcome you to Miami from Dolphin Stadium. Round 2 of the 2009 World Baseball Classic continues. And from Pool 2, an elimination game. The United States taking on the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Take a look at the standings in Pool 2. Puerto Rico a mercy rule win over the U.S. and Venezuela eking past the Netherlands 3-1. So these two teams hook up. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us. John Shambi alongside Buck Martinez. All right, Buck, well, a tournament filled with subplots. There's another here tonight. Brian Roberts, who replaced Dustin Pedroia on the U.S. roster after Pedroia injured himself swinging yesterday. The Netherlands objecting to Brian's eligibility. The World Baseball Classic feels like it has made the appropriate ruling. Roberts is in the starting lineup tonight. So we get that out of the way. As far as the Netherlands is concerned, you're talking about a team that has struggled to score. So Rod Delmonico doing whatever he can.
Yeah, he sure is, John. He's rolling the dice and using his backup catcher as the DH, and that's a real risk. But Sidney DeYoung has been his most consistent hitter. He sparked the comeback against Carlos Marmol and the Dominican Republic with a leadoff double. He would eventually score the tying run in that game, bottom of the 11th. Then against Puerto Rico, again, he swung the bat very well. He is 3 for 5 in limited appearance because he broke his wrist at the end of the professional season and didn't have surgery till December 22nd. He is far from being in 100%, but he's had some of the best at-bats for Rod Delmonico on this team, Netherlands.
Yeah, they've got their work cut out for him, though, against the diminutive right-hander, Roy Oswalt. He's the definition of an ace.
Well, he sure is, and I think Oswalt really shows what he is all about up in Toronto in the first round. He went 3 2/3 innings, held the Venezuelans to just 6 hits in that blowout win. The thing about Oswalt is he can neutralize you with a great fastball. He's got a wicked hook, and he threw 65 pitches first time out. He should be able to extend that a little further. The big question mark for Davey Johnson is somebody going to hit? They were really shut down effectively by Javier Vasquez. Combination of sinking fastballs, changing speeds, good breaking balls, and outstanding control. The big thing with Team USA is there's starting to be a little frustration creeping into their approach, and it's going to mount even more now with no Chipper Jones in the 3 spot. Somebody's got to step up offensively and have a big night tonight against the Netherlands.
Yeah, Chipper Jones scratched after re-injuring that oblique. The Netherlands and the United States, Rick Vandenhurk and Roy Oswalt, and the first pitch from Dolphin Stadium is coming your way next. Well, a gorgeous day in Miami has turned into a beautiful night. We're coming to you from Dolphin Stadium. The Kingdom of the Netherlands and the United States. It is round 2 and pool 2, an elimination game here tonight. Roy Oswalt will toe the slab for the U.S. And here's the lineup for Rod Delmonico and the Kingdom of the Netherlands. One name should be familiar to Major League Baseball fans, Randall Simon.
Randall Simon is 8 years of Major League experience, and right now he's struggling a little bit. Rod Delmonico went to him and said, listen, I want you to swing at strikes and take balls. So far, he's been swinging at the balls and taking the strikes, so they need him to be much more selective. Just 3 for 16 in the tournament.
Well, you can relate to what a manager has to do as far as getting everybody action for the U.S. Look at the defense. Okay, it's not Derek Jeter at short, so you got to play Jimmy Rollins.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Ron Granderson, Adam Dunn in the outfield. David Wright and Jimmy Rollins on the left side. New name at second base is Brian Roberts. He is filling in for the injured Dustin Pedroia. Roberts now takes Pedroia's spot on the roster. Kevin Youkilis and Chris Iannetta behind the plate tonight with Roy Oswalt. This is the same tandem that worked against Venezuela in the first round.
And here he is, the 31-year-old from Mississippi. Again, not a big guy. They list him at 6 feet, 185, but the stuff is electric.
Yeah, it sure is. 241 starts, and he is one of those guys, a 23rd round pick because of his stature. People want to see these 6'5" starters that blow that fastball at 95 miles an hour. Oswalt is not that, but there's not a team in the country that wouldn't want to have him as their #1 starter. He is a bulldog.
His best friend on the team, one of his best friends in baseball, Jake Peavy, and Davey Johnson got here late last night, but saw Jake Peavy have a tough time. A lot of the players on the U.S. squad really fighting and battling the flu. As Roy Oswalt fires in a strike, and we are underway. Gene Kingsale at the plate. 5 out of 20 and getting the start in center field.
The thing about Oswalt is they can handle the fastball. That's the Netherlands, but he has that great slow curveball that he uses so effectively. And he knows when to drop that hook in there, and he can certainly neutralize this inexperienced lineup.
0-2 misses. Buck, in the major leagues, there probably aren't 5 guys that have a larger gap in hardest pitch and slowest pitch in a game than Roy Oswalt. Fair to say?
Yeah, that's a good call. You know, he'll top out in the mid-90s with his fastball, and that slow curve will be about 79 miles an hour. That's a wide range of velocity to cover for hitters.
And the foul tip held on to by Iannetta. Good start for Roy Oswalt, and there's a strikeout.
Yeah, and that's a two-strike approach where you're just trying to put contact on the baseball. And you can see how late Kingsale was. He knew he got a piece of it, looked around quickly to see if Iannetta held on.
Kingsale retired, and Oswalt will go to work against Urindel de Caster. Offense has been the real issue for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. 5 games, and they've scored a grand total of 7 runs, hitting just 157. But they have caught the ball, played outstanding defense, and pitched well.
Yeah, one thing you will see throughout the course of this game is the Kingdom of the Netherlands, they don't make mistakes. They've done a pretty good job of catching the ball, making sure they throw the ball to the cutoff man when there's a ball in the gap. And Rob Delmonico knows that they have to play a real tight game if they're going to hang with Team USA tonight.
Urindel de Caster, who is a farmhand with the Washington Nationals. That fastball missed down low. One of 3 players from Curacao featured among the Nationals farmhands. Chiron Martis, who's a good-looking right-handed pitcher, trying to make their team, and Roger Bernardina as well, who you like a lot, a speedy outfielder.
Yeah, Roger Bernardina's got a lot of speed.
Bouncer towards third, but foul as David Wright watches that one.
That was pretty interesting because David Wright was well off the line. He didn't expect that de Caster would be able to turn on Oswalt's fastball. Now he's taken a step closer to the line after that last one just missed being a double down the line.
So here we go, 3-2. And Oswalt back to work. Jimmy Rollins to his left. And there's 2 away. Rollins getting the start. He's been splitting time with Derek Jeter, who was not in the original starting lineup, but Chipper Jones was scratched at the DH spot after re-injuring his oblique. So Rollins starts and will probably go the whole way out there at shortstop.
Yeah, I would think so, and that's just what you had to do. Chipper Jones, as we mentioned, was taking batting practice, felt okay, but again, the oblique has flared up on him.
So now Randall Simon. Simon, who last played in the majors with the Philadelphia Phillies and Jimmy Rollins in 2006. Lace to left, Braun, slide and grab. Nice catch. The former third baseman at the University of Miami makes the grab here at Dolphin Stadium. Oswalt gets a 1-2-3. The U.S. coming up. Back here at Dolphin Stadium, check out the starting lineup for the United States. Jimmy Rollins up top. Dustin Pedroia, though, will not play the rest of the way for the U.S. And Brian Roberts in his spot, hitting second.
Well, you lose the reigning MVP in the American League at second base, but you replace him with an all-star that hammered out 51 doubles last year. A switch hitter with the Baltimore Orioles. Brian Roberts is no slouch at second himself.
First one from Rick Vandenherk, the lanky right-hander. This is down and in to Jimmy Rollins. Rick Vandenherk, of course, pitches for the Florida Marlins. Got a good live arm. Big kid, 6'5", 195 pounds. Yeah,
he threw 97 miles an hour in Puerto Rico during the first round, and he is legit. He doesn't have the polish or the finesse we saw from Sidney Ponson, but he's certainly a powerful guy. If he can find the strike zone in a consistent manner, can be a tough opponent.
He's familiar with this park, with this mound. He was signed at the age of 17 by the Florida Marlins and facing the former MVP, Jimmy Rollins, 3 out of 9.
One thing I like about the start by Vandenherk, he's working very quickly. He's not intimidated by the powerful USA lineup. He's not trying to hit the corners.
Rollins gets under this one. DeCaster. And there is one away.
Well, we told you this is a very good defense, very sure-handed. Engelhardt, Kingsale, and Kluster in the outfield. Vince Roy has done a nice job at third base, and he's enabled his manager, Rod Delmonico, to put Brian Engelhardt in the lineup, and they have been able to jockey the defense pretty effectively. Kenley Johnson behind the plate, he's got a cannon for an arm that should neutralize the speed of Team USA.
And now Brian Roberts, his first at bat with Team USA, and he takes inside. Now it is just a coincidence. I mean, he's the guy that they would have looked at. But in terms of playing games in this stadium, you couldn't have picked a player on a team that trains closer than Brian Roberts. The Orioles train in Fort Lauderdale. That is, as the crow flies, probably about 14 miles away.
Yeah, and they had trouble contacting Roberts as he forgot his cell phone in the locker room last night. They actually didn't make contact with him until about 8 o'clock last night. But it is a short trip down the turnpike from Fort Lauderdale. You can see Vandenherk spinning off that ball, and when you do that as a pitcher, you have a tendency to let the ball fly to the outside part of the batter's box. Good late movement there. What you want to do with his delivery, and he does throw across his body, is try to get him to line himself up and finish more toward the hitter.
That ball ripped to right. Roberts got on top of that fastball. So a base hit for Brian Roberts, and with one out, a man aboard.
Well, Roberts and Vandenherk probably faced one another over the last couple of springs because the Marlins and the Orioles play a lot of games in spring training. He got on top of that high fastball, and that's the offensive start this club needs. They did not hit the ball well last night against Javier Vasquez. Just 6 hits in the game.
And now Derek Jeter, who is doing the DHing in this one, originally going to be Chipper Jones. So injuries certainly troubling for Team USA. First Dustin Pedroia and now Chipper.
This is a very good confrontation here with Jeter at the plate. Vandenherk trying to hold Brian Roberts close, but remember the catcher's got a cannon for an arm, and he's very accurate. He will throw behind the runner at first base too. You can see Derek Jeter didn't think that was exactly the best strike he'd ever seen. Brian Roberts 40 for 50 a year ago in steals and 90 over the last 2 seasons. He's very adept at getting tremendous jumps.
Not going there as Jeter takes down and in, and Buck add to the mix. There are not too many guys that take that inside fastball and can shoot it through that hole on the right side better than the man at the plate.
Yeah, he is the guy that has the best inside out swing in the American League.
Vandenherk works him away. Kenley Jansen is going to head out to the hill.
Well, this meeting right here is, listen, Rick, I'll take care of Brian Roberts. You take care of Derek Jeter. I'll throw him out, and we have seen it throughout this tournament. Bert Blyleven, the pitching coach, I'm sure is thinking the same thing. Hey, Rick, throw it over. We got a great catcher behind the plate, and Jansen has thrown the ball right on top of the bag just about every time he's been asked to make a throw.
Well, think about what Bert Blyleven's best pitch was. A pitch that is easier to steal on for sure, the curveball, and yet certainly didn't stop Bert from throwing it. That one inside. Jeter started to swing, held up, and then it almost hit him.
Well, you've got to believe they'll start the runner here with this 3-1 count. Vandenherk having trouble finding the strike zone, and with a 3-1 count, you can take a gamble that Jeter will get something to hit, and with Roberts' speed at first, hit one in the gap, you might go up a run.
Roberts goes. Jeter lashes it foul and out of play.
Well, Brian Roberts is always thinking about getting a good jump. His father was a great collegiate coach, first at the University of North Carolina, and then later on he moved on and became a great coach on Cape Cod during the summer league. And Mike Roberts worked with Brian since he was about 4 years old.
There goes Roberts again. Pitch outside, ball 4. So 2 aboard and 1 out as Jeter reaches. And it'll bring up Kevin Youkilis. Rick Vanden Hurk laboring a little bit. Only 23 years old. He made his big league debut back in 2007 at 21 years of age. And he'll deal with a guy who has turned into one of the best offensive players in the American League. The improvement he has shown, especially in the power department, has been impressive.
Yeah, and they can hit him anywhere in the lineup. He doesn't tense up when he hits in the cleanup spot. He hits the same no matter where you hit him.
Oh, both runners started to head off and advance the 90 feet, and Vanden Hurk alertly stepped off, but both Roberts and Jeter were thinking about going.
Yeah, and Roberts is as good as anybody in baseball at stealing third. He will watch Rick Vanden Hurk's head, and when he looks away from him, he will bounce off.
Ball one to Euclid.
What he does is he gets a sizable lead, and then he will watch the pitcher pick up the target, look back to second. That second look at the target, he will bounce off and get another 4 or 5 feet.
See how it works here. Yep.
That's what you got to do to neutralize it. Use that spin move. That's that inside move where a pitcher can rotate to the inside, swing that leg back towards second base, and sometimes catch an aggressive runner off base.
Slider misses downstairs, and the count 2-0. Command at times an issue for Rick Vanden Hurk.
Yeah, and it sure is a problem when you've got 2 speedy runners on base. You're distracted by Brian Roberts, and you're dealing with a guy that can knock it out of the ballpark.
Strike to Euclid, and it's 2-1.
Brian Roberts, before that pitch was delivered, held his hands out to the side to Kevin Euclid, and I'm going to stand still right now. You got the count in your favor. If you get a good pitch, let it fly. He didn't want to be a distraction in the background of Kevin Euclid as he's trying to pick up the pitch from Vanden Hurk.
And again, Buck, that's the other side of the coin as far as base runners. I mean, it is a reality that probably doesn't get talked about enough. Yes, base runners can be a distraction literally and mentally for the pitcher, but sometimes for the hitter too, right?
Yeah. If you're not really focused, that bouncing around at second base can be a real distraction for the guy at the plate.
3-1. And that is ball 4. Euclid exercising patience. And so with 1 out, they are all loaded up. And before David Wright hits, Bert Blyleven a trip to the hill.
Yeah, here comes Captain Hook, and not because he's going to take him out of the game, but because he had such a great curveball. But Bert Blyleven out here, he's done a marvelous job with this young pitching staff, constantly encouraging them to be aggressive. Listen, don't worry about these guys on base. Vanden Hurk is the first Dutch-born player on an opening day roster in the big leagues since Bert Blyleven.
Rick Vanden Hurk, who was, as we mentioned, signed by the Marlins, actually signed by one of the more famous scouts we've seen over the course of the last 20 years or so. Fred Ferreira, of his notable signings, of course, Vladimir Guerrero. But Fred actually came into contact with this guy when he was a catcher and went and played at Fred's baseball academy in Pompano, and eventually utilized that connection to get him to come to the U.S., and they signed him as a 17-year-old. Wright drills this one right field. Von Kloster makes the grab. And tagging and scoring is Brian Roberts. Jeter up to third. It's 1-0. David Wright delivers. And Brian Roberts, the latest addition to the U.S. team, making an impact.
David Wright's an RBI machine, and Brian Roberts got him going, reaching base on that base hit to right field. It became a distraction, forced Vanden Hurk into a couple of walks, and then David Wright with a very good approach at the plate, not wanting to do anything dramatic with the bases loaded, just wanting to cash in at least 1 run here, and he doesn't. David
Wright last year 124 runs batted in. That matched Mike Piazza's Mets franchise record for a single year. And Vanden Hurk not out of trouble yet as Big Adam Dunn stands in.
It's a similar situation that the Netherlands was in yesterday in the first inning, where Sidney Ponson held the Venezuelans to a single run. Vandenberg has to do the same thing.
That one a little low. Jeter's at third. Youkilis at first. U.S. on the board 1-0. John Shelby, Buck Martinez from Miami. And Dunn just a tad late there.
Well, Adam Dunn's gotten off to a great start in this tournament. Coming into this game, 556. He is 5 for 9 with 2 home runs and 3 ribbies.
Another thing with Adam Dunn, as he does so frequently in the regular season, he's also walked 6 times. So his on-base percentage is .733. You know, sometimes defensively, sometimes with the strikeouts, not always the most aesthetically pleasing player, but he produces.
We mentioned that he is currently the only major league player to have 40 or more home runs in 5 consecutive seasons, and only the 8th player in history to do that, string 5 consecutive 40 home run seasons together.
Jeter at third with Youkilis at first and 2 down. The 2-2 got him. Vandenberg blew it past him. The strikeout, and Team USA leaves a pair, but David Wright the sac fly. U.S. gets on the board. It's 1-0. A look at the Space Shuttle Discovery taking off from Cape Canaveral, about 3 hours north of here. About 10 minutes ago. Gorgeous night.
How beautiful is that?
Oh. And Roy Oswalt back to work as we go to the second.
This is Sidney DeYoung, the DH tonight. He is also the backup catcher, having a pretty good tournament.
Up the middle, Rollins couldn't pick it up on the edge of the grass, and that will be an infield hit. Sidney DeYoung continues to do good work at the plate, and that's something the Netherlands needs.
Well, this guy's got as much range as anybody in the world at shortstop, and if Jimmy Rollins can't make a play on it, it's a base hit. Rollins going up the middle, just off the tip of his glove on the edge of the dirt, and couldn't come up with it. But DeYoung now 4 hits in 6 trips, and Rod Delmonico got to feel good about rolling the dice with him.
Now Brian Engelhardt, who bunts, and it rolls towards third. Wright's going to let it roll, let it roll, let it roll, picks it up foul.
Well, what a beautiful bunt, and that's one thing that third basemen are aware of. Once you get a bunt like that, all you can do is let it roll and hope that it goes foul. He wasn't going to have a play on Engelhardt, and it looked as if it was going to stay in the grass. Perfectly executed bunt, not trying to surprise anybody, but just trying to locate it perfectly down the line. Generally, if that ball stays in the grass, you're going to have a bunt, but it trickled out of the grass onto the dirt into foul territory. Engelhardt had the double in the second inning in yesterday's game against Venezuela that led to DeCastro being thrown out at the plate.
He had 2 hits yesterday, and I mean, from the Kingdom of the Netherlands perspective, Engelhardt's double and DeCastro being gunned down at the dish might have been the biggest play of the day.
Big momentum swing for sure. They would eventually tie it up at 1-all in the top of the second. But what it did was it was kind of a slap in the face to Venezuela to say, hey, you know what? You're in a ball game here.
When you're the aggressor, as the Netherlands was in that case, you file it under, make them make a play. As Jimmy Rollins does there to Roberts. Oh! 6'4", the young man who's won the Gold Glove in the National League each of the last 2 years. The shortstop, Jimmy Rollins, gets it started.
What a beautiful play by Rollins. He gloves it right at the end, and he sees Brian Roberts covering the bag. Roberts dunces out of the way of the base runner and completes the double play. This is the beauty of baseball. 2 all-stars teaming up to make a very good double play.
And certainly Jimmy during the season plays with a very good one in Chase Utley. Here's Dunn over into foul ground. Adam Dunn, nice grab. Vince Roy lifted that one down the line, and Dunn, the big guy, showing off the legs, makes the catch. 1-0 USA. We go to the bottom of the second. USA leading 1-0, and Ryan Braun, former star at the University of Miami, to start it off. Braun, Iannetta, and Curtis Granderson. 7-8-9 for Davy Johnson's Team USA. And ball one from Rick Vandenhurst. Umpires for this one: Bruce Dreckman from the U.S. Major Leagues has the plate. Hitoshi Wadarita at first, Ed Rapuano and Luis Ramirez. And again, one of the changes for the 2009 World Baseball Classic, half of the umpires are Major League umpires, but the other half from the IBAF, the International Baseball Federation. And a strike to Braun. Look out over there.
A pretty good idea of the quality fastball that Vandenhurst's featuring. I mean, this is one of the best fastball hitters in the game, Ryan Braun, and he is late and scatters the dugout. There is no place to go when you're jammed into a dugout.
That's
like
exactly
that.
right. There is no place to go.
Just push your pal and get behind him.
Rick Vandenhurst kind of spraying it all around so far. He's at 3-2 with Ryan Braun as Chris Iannetta waits to hit. Hit hard and through the left side. Braun now 6 for 14 in the 2009 World Baseball Classic.
Vandenhurst's going to be effective against Team USA. You can't allow them to sit on fastballs. He's got to pitch ahead. He's got to get his breaking ball over. But Ryan Braun, as we mentioned, a great fastball hitter. 3-2 count leading off the inning. That's what you're sitting on.
And now Chris Iannetta, who's splitting time behind the plate with Brian McCann, 25-year-old catcher, kind of had his breakout year last year. 18 home runs in only 104 games, and the on-base percentage at .390. Took a ton of walks.
You can see the gaps in the outfield. Eugene Kingsale in center field is shaded to left center. I don't think that's the right defense. Iannetta's got great power to the gaps in right center. He has really become a very potent hitter to the opposite field because of where he plays in Coors Field. You don't have to pull the ball at Coors Field to hit it out of the ballpark. And when you stay on the ball, big part of the diamond, you become a much better hitter.
One and two now.
How about the way these catchers in this pool have really been the premier players around baseball? Iannetta coming into his own. McCann, his catching partner, Team USA. 3 exceptional catchers for Team Puerto Rico, and Venezuela has an all-star in their own right in Ramon Hernandez.
Braun back to first. Got an elimination game here tonight from Dolphin Stadium. The loser goes home. Will be down to 7 teams in the 2009 World Baseball Classic.
Good try to get that breaking ball over. He's going to have to continue to work with that pitch and hope that it comes around for him. He had too many pitches out of the strike zone, and his pitch count is already up to 40.
Again, the limit here in round 2 is 85 pitches. 70 in round 1, 85 in round 2, and for the semifinals and the finals, it goes up to 100. There goes the runner. Throw down there is in time. Oh my goodness. Well, Buck Martinez, you have been raving about Kenley Janssen's arm, and we saw why right there.
Right on the money from his knees. Watch this throw. A high pitch from the knees. That ball is a rocket to second base, but look where it is. Right on the bag. Little short hop right into the glove of Yurendo DeCaster, and Braun, he shouldn't peek at the catcher. Just run, because that ball is going to be right on the money.
Credit Yurendo DeCaster, though, with picking that one. A tough throw to deal with. And right there, Iannetta down on strikes, and that quickly there's 2 away.
Boy, what a change in the fortunes of Rick Vandenherk here in this inning, when Janssen throws out Braun, stealing second, and then comes right back and strikes out Iannetta on a very questionable call on the inside. Iannetta didn't think that was near the strike zone. Bruce Dreckman felt it caught the inside corner.
If you missed it earlier today, Pool 1 got going in round 2, and from San Diego it was Japan over Cuba 6-0. Granderson breaks his bat, falling in front of Montcluster, and he can't make the play. Granderson to second, and he's saved. Two-bagger for Curtis Granderson.
Same type of play that Adam Dunn had off the bat of Pudge Rodriguez in last night's game. This ball kind of gets into the lights. You can see Van Cluster was right there, had a shot at making the play. The ball just never really got to him, went off the end of his glove, and Granderson, as he always does, hustling on the play, moves into second.
So, man in scoring position, and with Granderson out there at second, it's Jimmy Rollins. Jimmy 0 for 1, battled a nagging ankle injury all year last season. And he takes strike 1. So far, a lot of players not happy with Bruce Dreckman behind the plate.
And it's kind of interesting. Dreckman and Mark Wegner, yesterday's umpire, last night's umpire, both major league umpires that these players are very familiar with.
Buck, real quick, one note on that Japan win over Cuba. Daisuke Matsuzaka, 6 shutout innings. He went to the limit, 86 pitches to finish it off.
Now, we told you 85 is the number, but you can finish an at bat when you hit that plateau at 85. So he needed one more pitch to get out of that at bat.
Rod Delmonico looking on. Team USA leading 1-0, and a man at second, 2 down. That ball is ripped. Right field, way back, and out of here. Home run, Jimmy Rollins. The littlest guy on the field will touch them all, and the U.S. is on top, 3-0. The former MVP goes yard to right.
Well, that ball got out in a hurry, too. High fastball. He jumped all over it, and there's an awful lot of thunder in a small package. 11 home runs last year during the regular season for Philadelphia. Watch this beautiful swing. Belt high fastball, and when you touch it off, know you've hit it square on the barrel, you can hesitate for a moment, even if you're a little guy like Jimmy Rollins. He knew he knocked that out of the ballpark.
He's got some pop, no question about it. And the U.S. up 3-0. Brian Roberts comes up empty there. And again, the U.S. without Dustin Pedroia, no Chipper Jones either, and Chipper has gone back to the Orlando area to be examined by Braves doctors. So, you know, he, in an interview just before he left, he said that he got a chance to say goodbye to his teammates. They cannot replace him on the roster here in round 2. The only player mid-round that you could replace is a catcher, and Dustin Pedroia, of course, the MVP last year, but Brian Roberts taking his spot, and he rips one over the leaping Randall Simon. Montcluster over to get it, and Brian Roberts enjoying his time on Team USA. He's 2 for 2, a single and a double.
And Brian got the call late last night to come down and join Team USA. He was on the provisional roster. He's enjoying a good spring with the Orioles and jumps all over this inside fastball, trying to get it inside. Left it out over the plate a bit, and he was able to turn on it. Brian Roberts, a two-time All-Star, was the starting American League second baseman in 2005 and made his second All-Star team in 2007. He led the American League in doubles with 50 doubles in 2004, so he's quite accustomed to making that left turn at first base.
Rod Delmonico out to talk with Rick Vandenhurst. And Juan Carlos Subaran up and throwing.
Yeah, Subaran is 19 years old and went to high school in South Florida. And Rod Delmonico knows he can't afford to fall much further behind. He doesn't have a 3-run home run in his arsenal.
Yeah, indeed. That is where it is tough. The lack of power and the ability to come from behind really limited for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Now Jeter at the plate.
Now you can see Team USA is having some pretty good at bats now, going back to David Wright's sacrifice fly in the first inning. Taking a nice approach, staying a big part of the field, not trying to do anything dramatic against Rick Vandenhurst. Pulled that ball way out of the strike zone.
Derek Jeter here in the 2009 World Baseball Classic, 4 out of 12. You look at what he's been able to accomplish, and he is on the fast track to the Hall of Fame for sure. Out there, scoop, bobbles, and throws out Derek Jeter. But Jimmy Rollins and Team USA working some 2-out magic with a 2-run homer. The shortstop goes yard. It's 3-0. We go to the third here in Miami, and Team USA leading the Netherlands 3-0. Look at the field dimensions. Dolphin Stadium down the left field line, really the one fair spot on this field, but for the most part it is a very good pitcher's park. If you're a fly ball pitcher and you can keep the ball in the air gap to gap in the center of the field, you're usually going to do all right. Dirk Van Kloster comes up empty right there.
Yeah, this is where Roy Oswalt really steps on the pedal. Give him a couple of runs early in the ball game and he's going to pound the strike zone. He knows how to pitch with the lead.
There's that curve. Iannetta blocks it, picks it up, and a strikeout for out number 1.
Roy Oswalt, 5 out of 7 first pitch strikes, and that number is even going to go up now. He's got a 3-run cushion.
Yeah, I mean, he's the devastating combo. I mean, Buck, if you were to look at the elite of the elite, sure there are exceptions, but by and large the aces are power pitchers who also have impeccable control, and that's a category he falls into. A guy that can run it up there in the low to mid 90s, and he throws it where he wants to. John Smoltz in his prime, Kurt Schilling in his prime, whatever. Roger Clemens.
Yeah, and Davey Johnson has seen many of those guys in his managerial experience.
Wow, that was absolutely sawed off. Long throw, and Wright has no play. Kenley Jansen, I mean, just out of self-defense, ended up with a little piece of the bat handle.
Watch where this ball is on the bat. I mean, it's just above his hands, and David Wright does a heck of a job of getting over to it. That ball had a lot of spin on it, but Jansen, very athletic, beats it out. You know, Wright had to field that ball. He got back on his heels because he had to stay with it because there was so much backspin on it. I mean, that's as bad as you will see a hitter get jammed.
Charlon scoop. And the shortstop 0 for 18. Part of the Giants farm system at AAA last year. Played at San Jose.
And you know that he's put a little pressure on himself, trying to really get that first hit and get off the snide. But when you do that, you have a tendency to grip the bat too tight, slow down, and then you got to think about getting your first hit in the tournament against Roy Oswalt. Good luck.
Yeah, this is a sport that usually does not reward trying too hard.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
1-2. Iannetta able to keep it in front. Got the catcher at first and Kenley Jansen.
Well, one of my great coaches and a renowned hitting coach, late Charlie Lau, had a great phrase to handle that. He always told his hitters to try easier, just to relax. Great pitchers like Maddox and Glavine, they have a tendency of trying easier when things are tough.
Scope gets himself a piece.
Let me tell you something. When you're in a rut like Scope's in right now and Roy Oswalt is pitching to you, it feels like he's 45 feet away. Like, wait a minute, can't you back up a little bit? You're crowding me, man. You're crowding me.
Give me some space.
And I can speak from experience, being 0 for 18 a few times in my life.
Okay.
It seems like you forgot to take the lead weight off that bat.
2-2 now on the shortstop for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Charlon Scoop. Jansen at first.
Getting closer.
Yep.
He is getting closer. You never know. Look at the determination. That's beautiful. Huh? As long as you're up there, you got a chance.
Chokes up a little bit. Oswalt trying to finish him off. Curve, got him.
That's exactly what you're talking about right there. 95 to 69. Nobody can deal with this. Watch how it freezes a hitter. He's thinking 95 and then whoop, 69. Can't even pull the trigger on a pitch like that. And that is a tough, tough area to cover. Such a difference in velocity.
Such a huge gap right there. As Gene Kingsale swings and misses. 0 for 1 with a strikeout. 32-year-old, a veteran of 211 big league games with Baltimore, Seattle, San Diego, and Detroit.
I want to have this conversation with you throughout the course of this game, and even if we can't finish it now, but your definition of an ace.
Up the middle, Roberts can't get it, and it squeaks through. Kingsale with his first hit of the night, and runners at first and second with 2 outs.
Kingsale's got some big league experience. He had a pretty good run with the San Diego Padres. That's the year in 2003 that he enjoyed the most at bats. Stays on this fastball, hits it right over the mound. Roberts can't flag it down. It's beyond his glove into center. 2-out base hit.
Yeah, defining an ace is, I think, it's subjective. And I love the numbers and the facts, but there's a feeling to me that goes into it in terms of how I do it. And again, I'm big on a lot of the sabermetric stuff and validating, but to me, when you talk about aces, if he's on your team, you expect to go to the park and win. Line drive to right. Dunn comes up with it and fires it in quickly, and they're all loaded up. And against this ace, the Netherlands swinging the bats pretty well tonight, Buck.
Boy, 2-out hits has loaded the bases, and Yurendel the caster put a charge in this. Watch how he stays on this ball. That's a pretty good fastball away from him, and he stays right on top of it. Adam Dunn's got a strong arm, and with the catcher running from second base, Wim Martinez, the third base coach, throws up a quick stop sign. he would have been dead meat at home plate. And now you've got your most experienced hitter batting against Roy Oswalt with the bases loaded. Pretty interesting matchup for Randall Simon with the bases loaded.
Randall Simon line to left his first time. And you see his numbers last year with Newark.
Hit the ball sharply in his first at bat against Oswalt. So far, the little conversation with Rod Delmonico is working. He took a ball. Previously, he was swinging at the balls and taking the strikes.
Well, he has always been a very aggressive hitter. That fastball at 93, and Simon a little bit late.
He hadn't had an RBI in the tournament, and certainly this would be a momentum swing, a dramatic one. If you have not seen the Kingdom of Netherlands play in this tournament, they never get down. And they could be down here 3-0 emotionally, but they never give up.
Ball on a strike. Climbing the ladder with Randall Simon, and unless it gets to 3-2, my guess is he's not going to see a strike.
No, you wouldn't think so. You can see what he has done in his career in the big leagues with the bases loaded. He knows how to hit and not try to do too much with the sacks full.
You got Janssen at third, Kingsale at second, and DeCaster over there at first. All loaded up with 2 outs, and the U.S. up 3-0. Oswalt ahead of Randall Simon, 1-2. And the curve is popped up. Right over towards the tarp, and he runs out of room.
Boy, there's a lot of players in that dugout for the Netherlands going, get out of here, get out of here. And David Wright ran out of room. He's got a beat on it right now, takes a peek at the tarp, knows it's going to be close. Looked like he never really got a glove on it. It was well into the seats.
See what Oswalt comes back with here. Heater and a pop-up. Couldn't catch up with it. Rollins settles under it, and Oswalt pitches out of the jam. The Kingdom of the Netherlands leaves them loaded. It's 3-0. We go to the bottom of the third here in Miami from Dolphin Stadium, an elimination game. The U.S. and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and Juan Carlos Suboran will take over. And you look at his numbers, those are his numbers from high school. Just signed after the 2008 Olympics with the Cincinnati Reds.
He will turn 20 years old on 9/11. He is 19 years old. He pitched in Plantation, Florida in high school, went to American Heritage High School in Plantation, Florida, not far from here. But what a great opportunity for Juan Carlos Suboran.
Baseball America has him rated as the 20th best prospect in the Reds organization. That's before Suboran has thrown a professional pitch. That gives you an idea of at least how the scouts look at him.
Pretty high praise, that's for sure.
A walk his first time for Kevin Youkilis. Grounds this one at DeCaster. 1 up, 1 down.
Again, we must praise Bert Blyleven for his impact on this pitching staff, because time and time again we have seen pitchers come into this game, into these games in this tournament, and throw strikes. He has encouraged them. He has built their confidence to the point where they're pounding the strike zone, and they don't have an awful lot of experience. In this case, none.
Yeah. Suboran deals outside to David Wright, who knocked in the first run of the game with a sacrifice fly. Talked to David before the game and just spoke to him a little bit about this event. And some of the interesting aspects. They said, you know, if you're a Met or a Yankee fan, it's got to be pretty cool to watch these games and see David Wright playing third base next to Derek Jeter. And his face just lit up, and he said, man, isn't that cool? He said, you know, as a young player in New York, who's a better guy to have as a role model? And I get to play on the same side of the infield.
Yeah, and certainly many people feel that way about Derek Jeter when you have a chance to share a locker room with him.
Well, you got a chance to manage him in 2006. What was it like being around Derek Jeter?
Well, he's everything that you would imagine. He handles his practices professionally. He handles himself professionally, and he's just everything and more that you would imagine.
And right, another base hit. A line drive to left. So he's now 5 for 17 in the 2009 World Baseball Classic.
What a good player. What a very good player. And that's a pretty good pitch. And that's not a cookie right down the middle. That ball was sinking in on his hands, and he kept his hands inside the baseball so he'd get the barrel of the bat to the ball, and he hit a rope to left.
And now it's Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn has struck out swinging his first time.
This group of fans, you can see Dominican shirts, obviously disappointed fans that expected to see their team here in this pool. I think they've taken to supporting the Kingdom of the Netherlands.
Sure. Hey, you beat us, we'll root for you, right?
That's only fair. And quite a contingent of Dominican fans, and they had many chartered planes all set to come to Miami and watch the home team. The home team's been split up back to their respective camps.
Well, I'll tell you what, it will be intense tomorrow night here at Dolphin Stadium. DeCastro to scoop on the first, not in time. Dunn beat it out.
Tell you what, Adam Dunn was beating it down the first base path. This ball wasn't sharply hit at all, but Scoop jumps out of the way of David Wright. And watch the effort here as Adam Dunn knows he's got to hustle down the line to beat that return throw to first.
Big fella moving a little bit like a defensive end's chasing him or something. Former high school quarterback Adam Dunn. Well, here's Ryan Braun. And the 2007 National League Rookie of the Year singled his first time up. Silberon deals low.
Reggie Smith is the hitting coach for Team USA, and I asked him about Ryan Braun. He says unbelievable power from a very quick short stroke, and he compared it to that of Mike Piazza. He said he's nowhere nearly as big as Piazza, but he hits him as far. Tremendous carry on the ball when he touches one.
Skies this. Shallow center. Kingsale has it. And that's the inning. No runs a hit. The U.S. leads one. End of 3 in Miami. It's 3-0. We go to the 4th. Roy Oswalt pitching out of trouble in the 3rd. A bases loaded jam, and now he'll deal with the DH Sidney DeYoung.
Pretty impressive player you see last year in the Netherlands Professional League. He's regarded as the best player in Europe. He's a catcher, a very good hitter, as we have seen. And as I mentioned, he broke his wrist on a tag play at the plate and played another 2 months and didn't really get a proper diagnosis. He had MRI, he had x-rays, nothing showed up, but he continued to have pain and finally had a doctor diagnose that he had broken his wrist, and he had surgery December 22nd. Wow. And had a plate inserted into his left wrist. And he literally told me before the game, he said, I'm really happy that I'm even playing, let alone playing as soon as I'm playing. But he's a tough guy. He got that pad protecting that wrist and a little extra support, but he is still getting back toward 100%.
Inside now, and it's filled up 3-2 on the DH and backup catcher. Bouncer to third at right. Handles, throw low. Youkilis couldn't dig it. And that'll be an error on David Wright.
Well, again, DeYoung puts the ball in play and puts pressure on David Wright. Tough little play, little swinging tapper up the line at third base. He handcuffs Kevin Youkilis. Youkilis as good as anybody at digging those balls out of the dirt, but this time he can't help out his Met third baseman.
Pair of Gold Glovers at the corners in Wright and Youkilis. So man at first after the error, and Brian Engelhardt wrapped into a double play his first time up.
Let's get back to that conversation about an ace versus a number one. Every team has a number one pitcher. Not everybody has an ace, in my estimation. I think the true definition of an ace is when you go to the ballpark and Roy Oswald's pitching, you got a real good chance of winning. And I think guys around baseball, Roy Halladay is an ace in my mind. He goes to the mound, you got to win. CC Sabathia is an ace. Greg Maddux was an ace. Those guys are automatics. Now everybody has a number one, and I think that's the same conversation as you would have about leaders. Every team doesn't have a leader. There are true leaders around baseball, but I don't think everybody has one.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, again, it is subjective, but I think that it boils down to if he pitches for your team and he gives you that, you expect to win with him on the mound.
Yeah, that's the ace of spades, the most powerful card in the deck, because he is going to go up there and string together some zeros.
And I think conversely, when you go up against Roy Oswald, and you hate to say it, I think maybe more analyzing it, but you expect to lose if you go up against him. A little tap or a little miscommunication, got to get rid of it. They do. Iannetta and Oswald, I think initially weren't sure who was going to pick it up.
I don't think Iannetta saw it. Roy Oswald had to holler at him, hey, it's right in front, because when you see that swinging bunt, the bat's coming, your mask is flying off, you don't really know where it is. Watch how late Iannetta reacts to this ball right in front of him on the dirt. And Roy Oswald actually points it out to him. Look at Iannetta looking around saying, where is it? And then he finally identifies it with the help of Roy Oswald. He wasn't really sure where that ball was.
Here is Vince Roy. Buck, that happens more than people think, don't they? I mean, every once in a while, a ball's just going to be in a spot, and for whatever reason, the catcher doesn't see it clearly.
Oh, it happens a lot. And you see the bat come through the zone. The last time you saw the baseball, it was right there, and then it just disappears. And you knew, I'm sure Iannetta knew it wasn't hit well by the sound. So, it's around here somewhere, but I'm not really sure where it is. Oswald picked up on it quickly and said, right in front.
USA up 3-0. A big hit. Jimmy Rollins 2-run homer. An elimination game here at Dolphin Stadium. Here in Pool 2, round 2 of the 2009 World Baseball Classic. Venezuela and Puerto Rico winning yesterday. And those teams will meet tomorrow night.
Ian Snell against Felix Hernandez. Winner tonight plays the loser of that game, Puerto Rico or Venezuela. Loser tonight, of course, goes home.
The World Baseball Classic 16 nations, 39 games over 19 days. We're down to 8 teams. After this game, we will be down to 7 teams. Ron Delmonico and company hoping to avoid elimination. A swing and a miss right there. Nasty pitch from Oswalt. And now it's 2-2.
You know, Roy Oswalt, as you mentioned earlier, John, has been battling that upper respiratory illness going around the clubhouse, but he looks pretty fresh tonight. Looks pretty strong. You see his body language is real positive.
Good pitch right there. Got him. Get a strikeout. That's the 4th for Roy Oswalt. And there's 2 away.
It's a little bit of a slider. Watch how hard it is, and it's a much different breaking ball than that slow curveball. Hitters see it, not much spin on it, and you think fastball, and the spin takes it out of the strike zone. He's got all the weapons. Vince Roy shouldn't be discouraged. He's hitting against one of the best, or not hitting against one of the best.
Dirk Von Kloster, the right fielder, struck out swinging his first time. He's got Sidney DeYoung out there at second. He reached on an error. World Baseball Classic continues tomorrow. Venezuela and Puerto Rico right here. Dolphin Stadium, 8 o'clock Eastern. And it will be Felix Hernandez for the Venezuelans and Ian Snell for Puerto Rico. In San Diego, 11 o'clock Eastern. It will be Cuba and Mexico. Or I should say Cuba against the Mexico-South Korea loser.
Yeah, Cuba has already lost to Japan, so it'll be a loser's game and an elimination game. 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Great pitching matchup in that Puerto Rico-Venezuela game, as we mentioned. Ian Snell, right-handed from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and Seattle Mariners' Felix Hernandez.
Yeah, no doubt that will be fun. Good one earlier today out in San Diego as Pool 1 got started. We showed you Japan shut out Cuba 6-0. The rematch of the 06 final. Daisuke Matsuzaka 6 shutout innings in that one. There's the curve again. That is nasty. I mean, Buck, that one was at 68. We've seen the fastball as high as 94, 95.
Yeah, hitters, I don't care if they're college hitters, if they're professional hitters, big league hitters, they can hit fastballs. You can throw 110 miles an hour, and sooner or later a hitter will catch up to that. But when you're dealing with 68, 75, 92, 92, back to 68, all you can do is take weak swings and try to defend the strike zone. You never feel comfortable. You can never get consistent timing.
So 0-2. Got it on his hands right there. The average big league pitcher, what would you guess? His fastball is 89?
Yeah, 89 is, you know, everybody says, well, that's a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, and everybody doesn't have one of those.
Right.
But I'd say 89 is a good average.
And then you're going to throw the slider, because there are more sliders and curveballs that say 82.
Yeah.
And then the changeup maybe a tad below that. Well, that, I mean, you're talking about a 10-mile-an-hour variance as opposed to Oswalt's doing it at about 26 miles an hour, from somewhere in between 94 and 68, and pick a speed because he'll come at you.
In every quadrant of the strike zone, he has that kind of command.
DeYoung out there at second. And that one hits softly to the hole right. Picks it up, spins, throws. Not in time. David Wright did everything he could in that spot. And Dirk Von Kloster just busting it down the line. An infield hit, and they are at the corners.
Again, a very good effort at the plate. Von Kloster hanging in there after he fought and fought and fought and gets one in the hole. Jimmy Rollins was breaking behind the runner at second. David Wright has to go all the way over toward the shortstop position, spins and fires, but not in time. Watch Jimmy Rollins go toward the bag. They had a pickoff play on the runner. They were going to throw behind DeYoung at second base, but he took a stutter step towards second. Watch Rollins here. He's going to break to the bag there and kind of takes himself out of the play, and David Wright has to go all the way over from third.
A late swing right there from Kenley Jansen, who came up with an infield single to third his first time up. So the Kingdom of the Netherlands with 5 hits. And all of them singles.
That's Henry Mullins, Bam Bam Mullins, who played in the big leagues with the Yankees. He's the hitting coach. And these hitters are coming around. The more at bats they get against this caliber of pitching, the more confidence they're getting. We're seeing some pretty good at bats tonight. Early in the tournament, they were overmatched. And this is Henley Janssen, who threw out Ryan Braun with a seed early in the ball game. He's a natural left-handed hitter that switch hits. And he plays in a Dodgers organization. There's already whispers that they're going to convert him to the mound and take advantage of that great arm. I'd be reluctant to do that just yet because he can really catch and throw. Plus, he's kind of like me. Couldn't hit a lick.
You just want to line them up, all the catchers. Climb the ladder there.
Watch this. Ryan Braun stealing from his knee. Little short hop strike to second for Kenley Janssen. I mean, he throws with anybody I've ever seen. Physically, he reminds me of Paul Casanova, the great catcher for the Senators. Tall, lanky, long arms, a lot of extension, but I would stick with him. I would make him hit from the left side exclusively.
Okay.
It's really bad when you got one bad swing, but when you got 2, it really compounds the situation.
DeYoung is the runner at third. Von Kloster the runner over there at first, and somewhere Troy Percival and Dave Stewart, 2 guys who made the conversion from catcher to the pitcher's mound, are saying, hey, it'll work just fine when you get out to the hill.
Yeah, you know what, and I just think that you have to be a little more patient. He's 21 years old, and give him a chance to hit, because I mean, how many times have we heard major league teams saying, boy, we're really desperate for catching.
Yeah, no question.
Keep him behind the plate.
I think the issue is, do you hear that as much as you hear we're really desperate for pitching? 2-2, got him. Oswalt freezes Kenley Janssen, and the bender finds the mark. Oswald again pitches out of trouble. The Kingdom of the Netherlands strands 2. It's 3-0. Back here in beautiful Miami, 3-0. The U.S. leading it over the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And keep up with all the latest World Baseball Classic news and stats. Visit the official online shop of the World Baseball Classic, worldbaseballclassic.com. All the items for all 16 countries, including clubhouse gear, T-shirts, jerseys, and more, right from the source, worldbaseballclassic.com. Chris Iannetta rolls one foul third base side against Juan Carlos Subirán. It'll be Iannetta, then Granderson, and then Rollins here in the bottom of the 4th. An elimination game here. Round 2 of the World Baseball Classic Pool 2 action. Other 2 teams in this pool, Venezuela and Puerto Rico, will meet tomorrow night. And the winner of this one will take on the loser of that one, and that'll be coming up on Tuesday. Earlier today, Pool 1 of Round 2 got started with Japan beating Cuba 6-0.
Daisuke Matsuzaka, who really made a name for himself pitching for Japan in 2006, and shortly after that he came out, was posted, and signed with the Boston Red Sox. A total of over $100 million involved, including the posting fee.
Yeah, $51 million was the posting price. And now again, a posting price is essentially what you bid for the opportunity to negotiate with the player. And if a deal isn't worked out,
yeah,
you get your money back.
Yeah, it's like a tariff. You know, here's the price to negotiate. And Yu Darvish, who is the other great pitcher on Team Japan this year, there are some that are thinking it's going to be $100 million posting fee for him.
Iannetta draws the walk. Got some changes for the World Baseball Classic 2009 edition, and pitching limits, of course, 85 pitches for starters in round 2. That's up 5 from 2006. The mercy rule after 7, a 10-run mercy rule. We saw that in play last night as the U.S. lost to Puerto Rico 11-1 in the bottom of the 7th. Also added Major League's version of the replay rule on home runs, fair, foul, and boundaries. And extra innings in the 13th. If we get there, every inning from that point forward starts with runners at first and second.
Runners at first and second according to where you finish in your lineup. So who's ever scheduled to lead off the 13th will hit, and the 2 batters ahead of him in the lineup would take the bases, first and second.
So Iannetta at first, Granderson at the plate. And a swing and a miss. Curtis Granderson, 3 of his teammates representing the heart of the order for Team Venezuela, as Cabrera, Ordonez, and Guillen are hitting 4, 5, 6 for Luis Sojo's team. If the Tigers can get the pitching healthy and to bounce back from subpar performances from guys like Verlander and Bonderman, Tigers have a chance to be one of the more improved teams this year.
They've done a couple of things to head him in the right direction. They brought in a shortstop in Adam Everett, and that freed up Brandon Inge to play third base. Defensively, they're much better there. That should make the pitching staff better. But Verlander has to lead the way.
Anderson comes up empty. And there's one away with a man at first. Well, last night it was not pretty for the U.S. Javier Vasquez, Buck Martinez, he was firing everything for strikes and got a lot of help, including Felipe Lopez, a 2-run homer, Pudge Rodriguez doubling off of Adam Dunn's glove, and then Carlos Beltran in the 7th with the home run, and finally Mike Aviles.
Mike Aviles with the game winner, a walk-off bloop down the right field line to push Puerto Rico to a 10-run mercy rule win over Team USA.
Yeah, the big hit, I think, Felipe Lopez, the 2-run homer in the 2nd, that made it 4-0, and the top of the lineup for Team USA really had a difficult time. Top of the lineup's been big here in this one, as Rollins has a 2-run homer.
Yeah, Felipe Lopez hit that home run in the 2nd inning after a leadoff walk to Giovanni Soto by Jake Peavy, and then Lopez hit one deep into the seats in right, and that led to a 4-run 2nd inning, and it was game, set, and match at that point.
Rollins hits that well left center field. Kingsale can't get it. That one's going to roll past him. Look out. Rollins around second. Iannetta coming in to score. Rollins has himself a triple, and the U.S. leads it 4-0.
Jimmy Rollins, obviously a very special player. National League MVP, a guy that can spark you with his legs, kill you with his glove, and put a dagger in your heart with a drive to the opposite field. A home run earlier in the game, a 2-run shot in the 2nd inning, and now an RBI triple to the wall in center. Iannetta on his horse around third base, scores easily, and now it's 4-0 USA.
Buck, so much space out there, and where you look at where Rollins hit that ball, this is a great triple spot with that triangle out there in left center field, and Jimmy takes advantage.
Lots of room, and if you don't have speed in this ballpark, you're going to be turning your back to the infield all night long. You got to cut off the ball in the gaps to make sure that you don't give up those doubles and triples, but Kingsale couldn't cut off that ball off the bat of Jimmy Rollins.
Rod Delmonico brings the infield in with 1 out, and Roberts hits that one off the end of the bat. Brian Roberts 2 for 2, making an impact immediately. He replaces Dustin Pedroia on the U.S. roster. Pedroia injured himself swinging in batting practice yesterday with a strained oblique. Now, the Netherlands objected to his eligibility here in round 2. And essentially the debate boils down to this. For the United States and the roster, when did round 2 start?
Correct.
Did round 2 start for Davey Johnson's team before they handed in the lineup cards before the start of their game? Or did round 2 start when Venezuela and the Kingdom of the Netherlands got together in game 1 yesterday afternoon?
I spoke to the GM, Bob Watson of Team USA, and he said their game officially didn't start until they exchanged lineup cards to begin their game at night. And when you read the rules, there's no real clear definition of when the tournament begins, but there is a technical meeting at the start of each pool where managers and GMs will come in and they will talk to tournament officials and go over their roster. You have any roster substitutions? Do you have any? Do you have any? And that's all laid out before the tournament begins. At that point, Roberts wasn't a consideration. So Team USA had no roster changes at that point. It wasn't until Dustin Pedroia was pronounced unfit to continue, and Bob Watson put the call out for Brian Roberts.
I mean, they would have been shorthanded last night if something had happened to Mark DeRosa. He was the only second baseman on the team last night. Ripped and foul. And David Wright came into Barry Larkin, who managed the game to begin while Davey Johnson was attending his stepson's wedding. Barry Larkin was standing there. David Wright came up to him and said, "Okay, who's the emergency guy?" And Barry Larkin was essentially like, "No,
not you,
not you." So I asked David Wright today, when was the last time you played second base? He looked off for a second. He said, "Middle school." And then he said, and this is the truth, he got excited and he said, "Why? What? Did you hear something?" I mean, these guys just like to play. High fly ball center field, well hit. Kingsale back some more. It's off the wall. Rollins in, Roberts racing for third, back-to-back triples for Team USA, and it's now a 5-0 game.
Well, Brian Roberts making a dramatic impact immediately. 3 for 3. A single, a double, and now a triple, and that ball is just inches from going out of the ballpark in center. Bounces over Kingsale's head. Roberts can see the ball bouncing away and knows he's got an easy triple as he breezes around second and picks up his first RBI of the night.
So an RBI triple for Brian Roberts, plating Jimmy Rollins. A couple of guys who can pile up those triples. And a 5-0 USA lead.
You look at the face of Juan Carlos Subera and you say, well, it looks like he could be pitching for the Little League Curaçao team, just fresh out of high school.
Pitching change here in Miami. The U.S. leads. Now back here, Dolphin Stadium, the U.S. has opened up a 5-0 lead. 1 out and a man at third. And again, the infield comes in. And Michael Von Kumpen is the new pitcher. And Derek Jeter at the plate 0-for-1 with a walk.
Von Kumpen with a sidearm almost submarine delivery. Very quick adjustment for Derek Jeter, having to find the release spot. Look at the release point off to the side now. That's what makes these middle relievers so effective. Guys like Chad Bradford, who pitched so well for Tampa Bay, come in the middle of the game when the hitters have looked for a traditional release point. You come in quickly, throw strikes, and you can have a lot of success. Because hitters, it takes them 2 or 3 pitches to get acclimated again, to look for a different area to find the baseball.
Yeah, limited looks and take advantage that way. Didn't drop down quite as much that time. Missed outside 1 and 2.
Well, that could be a bad thing because that was a breaking ball, and maybe he has to throw the breaking ball from that arm angle, and that's certainly an advantage for the hitter. Higher arm angle, breaking ball.
Off the glove of the catcher, Janssen. Oh man, he got back there in a hurry. Brian Roberts did not take off.
That's the first ball we have seen Janssen box up behind the plate. He's got pretty good hands, but he really just misses this ball. Went right off the glove. A little different break than he anticipated, and he's lucky that Roberts didn't score on this.
So Roberts still at third. 2-2 now. And now it's filled up.
Well, that delivery doesn't become as effective when you don't throw strikes. You want resolution quickly. Now he has allowed Jeter to see 5 pitches from that delivery.
Again, infield all on the edge of the grass with Roberts at third. And Jeter fists that one out of play.
We must remind you that the Netherlands, during their spring training, if you will, Rod Delmonico's final practice in Bradenton at the Pirates complex, 5.5 hours of situations just like this. Pitchers on the mound, infield drawn in, runner at third base, less than 2 outs. Get out of it.
Jeter hanging in there.
And when you do that time and time again, you don't get too anxious in these situations. Been there, done that.
Yeah, a lot of work, and for sure a lot of teaching goes on in those spots. Roberts at third, and Jeter lays off. He lost him, and runners are at the corners.
Yeah, Van Kampen absolutely throws the breaking ball from the higher angle and the fastball from a lower angle. You can bet the veteran hitters on Team USA have picked up on that already.
Now he's got to deal with Kevin Youkilis. His teammate Dustin Pedroia won the MVP this past season. I don't think anybody would have blinked if instead it had gone to you.
Yeah, Youk won the Hank Aaron Award for the best hitter in the American League, and many people felt like he too could have been the MVP. Davey Johnson had a conversation with Dustin Pedroia about Kevin Youkilis, saying, where do you think I ought to hit him? He can hit anywhere. He said, hit him fourth. He's the best clutch hitter I've seen.
He's got a couple of home runs in this World Baseball Classic, and was able to deliver the U.S. through the Toronto pool and into round 2. Jeter's at first, and Brian Roberts over there at third. Another thing too, the versatility of Kevin Youkilis, especially in light of the injury to Mike Lowell this past season. Any injury to a third baseman, he plays both infield positions at Gold Glove caliber. This one off the side of the mound, scooped to second for one, and he beat the Rap at first. Run scores. It's 6-0. Good hustle, Kevin Youkilis.
Well, a great combination of base runners for Team USA. Jeter always busted down to second base, and he's trying to disrupt the throw, and he does. Gives Kevin Youkilis just enough time. Youkilis knows he's got a chance for an RBI here. Look at the determined effort as he beats the return throw to first base and picks up the RBI. And extends the lead to 6-0.
So 6-zip, and with 2 outs and a man at first, it is David Wright, 1 for 1 with a sac fly. David Wright and the Mets will try and hunt down the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League East this year.
Tell you what, if Javier Vasquez continues to pitch the way he did against Team USA, the Braves are going to be right there as well.
Now, one thing that Frank Rand did, he got the Braves a pair of very durable starters, and Javier Vasquez and Derek Lowe, a couple of guys who've been in the game for over 10 years in terms of service time, neither of whom have ever been on the disabled list, which is pretty amazing.
And it has a dramatic effect not only on the days they pitch, but on the other 3 days, because you don't use the bullpen.
Little roller to third. Roy on the move, and Wright is retired. But Team USA picks up 3 more. It's a 6-0 game as we go to the 5th. Back here in Miami, Buck Martinez. How about Roy Oswalt? Very sharp.
Well, he sure was. First batter of the ball game, he punches out Eugene Kingsale, drops a great curveball there to get Scoop, and then Randall Simon with the bases loaded and a weak pop-up, and the final batter that Oswalt faces, Kenley Jansen, takes a slow hook. 70 pitches, didn't walk a batter, struck out 5 and scattered 5 hits. He had the pitches when he needed. There were a couple of threats, and he thwarted them.
So the U.S. trying to stave off elimination on top 6-0. And we go to the 5th. LaTroy Hawkins, first pitch, and he gets Charlon Scoop to tap back to him. And Scoop now 0 for 20 in this WBC. LaTroy Hawkins, the veteran right-hander.
Last season, he split time with the Astros and the Yankees, and Hawkins came up with the Minnesota Twins out of Gary, Indiana. Was a starter initially in his career, made the transition, has become a very reliable middle relief guy. He's a guy that you can extend, pitch a couple of different innings if you need, and he wears that 42 on his uniform in honor of Jackie Robinson, of course. 36 years old now. He started the first 3 years when he came up with the Minnesota Twins.
And pumps in a strike. So Gene Kingsale 1 out of 2. And Roy Oswalt giving it over to the lanky right-hander LaTroy Hawkins. That finds the mark as well, 1-2. Well, the Netherlands trying to continue their Cinderella run. In Puerto Rico, Rod Delmonico's team upset the Dominicans not once but twice. And it was truly amazing when you look at a roster littered with all-stars and big-time talent.
And Delmonico deserves an awful lot of credit for really getting this team set for this tournament, emphasizing the fundamentals and pitchers throwing strikes.
Hawkins corrals that one. There's 2 away. Now coming up after our game, the World Baseball Classic continues as Mexico will go up against South Korea from Petco Park in San Diego. Coverage starts at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Check your local listings for the games and times in your region. The World Baseball Classic. Baseball spoken here. Tell you what, Buck, I get a first-hand look at South Korea, and they have themselves some big hitters. And a couple of real good arms, including a former big leaguer in Jung Kyung Bong, the lefty who was up for a little while in 2003, 4, and 5 with the Braves and the Reds. In the air, Granderson to his right. And LaTroy Hawkins gets him 1, 2, 3. Bottom of the 5th back here in Miami, an elimination game from Pool 2, and 6-0. U.S. leading it. David Bergman will take over on the hill.
Bergman is starter in the Netherlands. 13 starts, a very impressive 8-1 record. Doesn't walk many, but he also doesn't strike out many. Not overpowering, but certainly another guy that Bert Blyleven admires for his ability to throw strikes.
Bergman, the 4th pitcher used by Rod Delmonico. Rick Vandenherk, the Marlins right-hander, started and gave up 3 runs. He went 2 innings. Big Adam Dunn 0 for 2. And a strike. Got things going earlier today in Pool 1. Round 2 action out there in Petco. That ball's hit hard and past the diving Randall Simon. And a base hit for Dunn. From Petco Park earlier today, Daisuke Matsuzaka, 6 shutout innings. And Japan beat Cuba 6-0 in a rematch of the finals from 2006.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty surprising score, the way Cuba was swinging the bats in Mexico City. I expected them to score a few runs, but Daisuke has really learned how to utilize all of his pitches.
And a pitch in there to Ryan Braun, and you got the big league scouts, you have advanced scouts for Team Japan, and I don't think I've seen that before, the video tripod, and the Japanese advanced scout is actually speaking into a microphone after every pitch, IDing pitches.
Attention to detail. Of course, a Japanese baseball, as much information as they can get, they suck it all in. They want everything they can get on the team they might face, and certainly here in that case it would be Team USA. But a lot of managers don't want to overload their players with information, give them too much. But in Japan, it's a cultural thing where I want to know everything about everybody. And because of that, they have video scouting, they have regular traditional scouting. Those are the scouts from the big leagues right there that are looking at some of the players they're not that familiar with, but a lot of them looking at Sidney Ponson. And I talked to the scouts tonight about Ponson. I talked to Sidney before the game, and he said, what did I throw on the velocity on the radar gun? And I went to these scouts in the dining room earlier, and they said 88 to 92 with movement. And that was the really defining statement.
Hit hard and through the left side. Back-to-back hits for Dunn, then Braun. And 2 aboard and nobody out. It'll bring Chris Iannetta up to the plate.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one other point, Buck, on advanced scouting and the way the Japanese go about it. Those scouts that we showed in the stands told me that the guys who were here last night for Japan, they moved their angle about 3 times. So they took the tripod and set it up a bunch of different places.
And they would do that according to who was hitting and who was pitching. You got a left-hander on the mound, you want to see the best side of him more from the first base side than the third base side, so you move your camera to record his delivery. And what they're looking for is anything that might tip off the batter as to what the pitcher is throwing. If there's a different grip, if the hands are set in a different position, if the arm angle is different on a breaking ball. Like we saw with Van Compen, he had a higher angle on the breaking ball than he did on the fastball.
Iannetta hits that one softly left center, and it'll fall for a hit. Engelhardt couldn't come up with it. Dunn had to wait to see if in fact it would fall. And now they're loaded up.
I think reality might be hitting home with the Netherlands here. This ball's off the end of the bat, and Brian Engelhardt takes a bad route to it, and it falls in front of him. He has to knock it down on the hop, and Adam Dunn had to hold up. He couldn't advance, but I think the reality of the end of this Cinderella ride is near.
Infield and bases loaded. And Curtis Granderson 0 for 2. Big hit in this one in the second. Jimmy Rollins, that 2-run homer, that just seemed to give the U.S. the lift it needed.
Yeah, it sure kind of boosted their spirits with one swing of the bat.
Hit hard. Oh, Randall Simon throws a roller to the plate, and they get done. Wow.
Again, the value of repetition. Having gone through these situations during a 5-hour workout at the end, Randall Simon reacts and from his backside throws a 23 hopper to the plate that Kenley Jansen is able to hold up to and get the lead runner with the force out. What a marvelous play. A very determined effort as Simon just gets it on its way to the plate. It's a bullet off the bat of Granderson, a one-hopper, and he unloads in a hurry to get the lead runner. That's as good as it gets in this situation with the infield in.
I mean, there are so many things that could have gone wrong there. Even one little subtlety of the fact that Curtis Granderson laid the bat right there by the plate, and I would say maybe 5 inches to the right, and that throw may have hit the bat.
Just missed it.
Rollins takes a breaking ball for a strike, and it's 1-1 to Jimmy, who's had himself a night.
Well, the top of the order has really done the majority of the damage. 3 extra base hits, 5 hits in 6 trips between Rollins and Brian Roberts. They've scored 4 of the 6 runs and driven in 4 of the 6 runs.
And last night it was 1 through 4, the top of the order, that really let Team USA down. Last night against Puerto Rico, the top of the order hitless and just did not produce the results that David Johnson and company were hoping for. Brian Roberts, his first game in Team USA uniform, and it's gone well. Floater to center. Kingsale makes the grab, tagging from third. Braun, he's in. And it's 7-0.
4 RBIs for Jimmy Rollins as Braun comes in. Ryan Braun's had a pair of hits. Very productive at bats up and down the order. Jimmy Rollins with the sac fly. Rollins and Roberts doing the majority of the damage. 5 for 6, 2 triples, a home run, a double. They have hit for the cycle between them, and they have done all the damage offensively.
7-0 game here at Dolphins Stadium, and Ron Delmonico making another pitching change. 2 outs, bottom of the 5th, and the U.S. leading it 7-0. John Sciambi and Buck Martinez and Diego Marmarquel will take over on the hill.
Marquel, former Toronto Blue Jay farmhand, last season with the Neptunes in the Netherlands, 15 starts. Interesting sign. The Blue Jays signed him out of Curacao. He is Andrew Jones' cousin. They gave him $750,000 when they signed him as a free agent. He was a prospect they kept for a long time, hoping things would come together.
Brian Roberts had himself quite a night.
Brian Roberts is one of the premier players in the American League. Just got a 4-year contract extension from the Baltimore Orioles to guarantee his future there in an Oriole uniform.
And now 3-0.
Orioles locking up 2 of their star players. Nick Markakis, the right fielder, for 6 years, and Brian Roberts for 4 years, and that kicks in next year.
And ball 4. 4 pitches. He lost them, and well, you come to Miami. What are you looking for? How about a little R&R? That's right. Rollins and Roberts. They've been the story.
Jimmy Rollins with a 2-run home run in the 2nd inning. Brian Roberts came through with a double down into the right field line. Rollins then with the triple past Eugene Kingsale. That would knock in a run, and then right behind him in the 4th inning, Brian Roberts hits his triple. They have been a tear on the bases, at the plate, scoring runs, driving in runs, and collecting the majority of the offense here tonight.
Hooked up on a gorgeous double play as well. Derek Jeter takes outside, and it's 5 straight outside the zone from Diego Marmarquel. Jeter's walked a couple of times. Again, remember, World Baseball Classic rules, and there is a 5-inning and 7-inning mercy rule. If the U.S. is able to make it 15-0 here in the bottom of the 5th, the game will conclude. As well, if they're up by 10 and the Netherlands hits in the top of the 7th, the game will be over. So there are 2 different mercy rules, one a 10-run rule and one a 15-run rule. And last night, the U.S. lost 11-1 near the bottom of the 7th.
Yeah, you kind of imagine that the U.S. hitters had come out smoking tonight after getting embarrassed last night at the hands of Puerto Rico. And then the Netherlands would be the team that would catch them with that chip on their shoulder.
Well, you're not expecting it. I mean, I might be wrong, and you tell me, but I think that the mercy rule was put in at least in part because, yes, it's 16 nations participating,
right,
but it's not a level playing field. You had plenty of nations like the U.S. taking on nations like South Africa that haven't been playing it very long, and I think that's probably why it was put in there, not in anticipation of the U.S. playing Puerto Rico.
No, not at all. It was to guard against teams just being abused, and 2006 Team USA did mercy rule South Africa.
The 3-2. And Jeter punches it down the line. Nevertheless, when you're dealing with major league caliber players, it's a little jarring when the game ends via mercy rule. I mean, you hear mercy rule and you think, let's get everybody in the minivan and we'll take the kids for a slushie.
Yeah, it surprised a lot of players on the field last night. In fact, Adam Dunn, the right fielder, threw the ball back to the infield, not aware that the game had come to an abrupt end.
Jeter got a little piece. That one tied him up.
Even Pudge Rodriguez was in the Puerto Rican dugout putting on his shin guards when everybody went on the field. He said, oh, somebody must have got hurt. No, the game was over, Pudge. He wasn't aware of the mercy rule either.
There you go. Chris Iannetta, the runner, at 3rd. Granderson is at 2nd, and Roberts at 1st. And Jeter hangs in.
Well, now, if Team USA wins this game, they would play on Tuesday. Davey Johnson's club would play the loser of tomorrow night's winners game, Venezuela against Puerto Rico.
Three-2 towards 3rd. Knocked down by Roy. Picks it up. Throws him out. And the U.S. leaves them loaded. But the United States tacks on another. It's 7-0. Top half of inning number 6 as the U.S. leads the Kingdom of the Netherlands 7-0. And the new pitcher for the United States, 3rd used tonight by Davey Johnson, it's Scott Shields. And this right-hander with another fine year last year with the Angels.
He's one of the premier setup men in all of baseball. Last year pitching ahead of Francisco Rodriguez. And that is a wicked 1-2 punch late in the game, and he won't have Rodriguez down there. Destined to be Jose Arredondo, the closer for the Angels, but still a very capable, powerful arm at the end. But Shields is as good as it gets in the setup role.
Yeah, he is a rubber-armed wonder and a guy that has given Mike Scioscia tons of innings. And you know, it's funny, part of an interesting trivia question, if you were to ask people, name the returnees from the 2006 World Baseball Classic Team USA team, as Dunn goes back and puts it away. Well, you got Jeter, of course, everybody knows that, Jake Peavy, and then the other guy that would be part of it would be Chipper Jones, although he just went home, but he'd be the fourth.
Yeah, he was part of the bullpen in 2006, and a very capable guy because he can give you a couple of innings. And then Joe Nathan was scheduled to be on the team as a returner, but he had shoulder problems just before the club was due to report to Clearwater.
Liner to center and a base hit. And Sidney DeYoung with another hit. Looks like the Cinderella ride for Rod Delmonico's team coming to an end, and nothing but tight games until tonight for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, but amazing work has been done.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about this team coming into this tournament, they hadn't won a game in the World Baseball Classic, and they upset the Dominicans in 2 games.
But as you said, no quit whatsoever in this team, and with 1 out, 2 aboard.
They came back to win that second game against the Dominican Republic. Rod Delmonico's club played a scoreless tie into the 11th, and then a misplayed ball in the outfield by Eugene Kingsale allowed the Dominican Republic to go up by a run. So everybody kind of assumed, they almost patting them on the shoulders, if say, boy, you guys gave it a heck of a go. But then they came right back with 2 in the bottom of the 11th and beat Carlos Marmol.
Yeah, it's really, you'd have to say that is, at least thus far, the game of the tournament. And an amazing win. Rod Delmonico called it a miracle.
Well, to have his team come back against one of the premier late inning guys in the major leagues, pretty impressive.
Bouncer towards third. All right, diving step, gets up, and Youkilis hangs onto the bag. Nice play all the way around. And the runners advance to second and third.
Tell you what, these guys have hit the ball hard against Scott Shields. Look at the effort by David Wright. That ball is almost past him, bounces to his feet quickly, makes a strong throw. Youkilis with the good stretch, and Vince Roy is retired. That ball sneaks through there. They get a chance to score 1 and have first and third with 1 out.
So a fine play by David Wright. And Kurt Smith is going to pinch hit. Dirk Van Kloster started in right field, and Smith hits for him here. Scott Shields homecoming for him. He pitched his high school baseball in the Fort Lauderdale area, so he's back getting a chance to see some family. Guy who was drafted and has stayed within the Angels organization.
Yeah, there's another organization that has built itself up through the farm system, and we don't talk about them in the same fashion that we do about some other clubs like Minnesota, but the Angels have done a great job of drafting, signing, and developing their own players.
Ground ball to the right side that Roberts picks up, then throws him out, and Shields able to pitch around the 2 hits. The U.S. on top 7-0. And we're back at Dolphin Stadium in Miami. The U.S. leading 7-0. I can appreciate that hairdo. Leon Boyd.
I think you were the model for that, weren't you?
Absolutely. Right-hander takes over on the hill for Diego Marquel.
Boyd's had a good WBC pitching for Rod Delmonico and Bert Blyleven. He is a guy that has pitched very effectively in the Netherlands last season with Neptunus.
And the first one to Youkilis is a strike. New right fielder as well. As Rod Delmonico has brought in Danny Rombley. Hit towards third, and Roy scoops it up on a bounce. Youkilis is out.
Tell you what, Vince Roy can play some third base. Good hands and a strong arm. We have seen it throughout these last two games.
Well, the U.S. trying to stave off elimination. United States 2-2 so far. In round one in Toronto, won the first two games, and then for the championship in that pool, in Pool D, they lost to Venezuela. And basically, it gets down to this for the U.S. They need to win 2 games before they lose 1 in order to advance.
Right, they win this one tonight, and then their game on Tuesday, they're in. They will then go to Los Angeles for the semis and finals.
And once you get to the semis, single elimination is the story. And here, Pool 2, Derek Jeter and company hoping to advance to L.A. I mean, but the one thing that stands out to me is in a tournament like this, double elimination fine, but single elimination makes it really tough in terms of it gets a little more random. In this sport, if you really want to determine the world's best team, you probably would have to, not that this is feasible, do something like best 4 out of 7 series type stuff.
Right. And obviously that's the true measure of a champion, and that's how the World Series is based. You play 162 games, a 5-game division championship, a 7-game league championship, and a 7-game World Series.
3-2, got him right, knew it. And Boyd continues to do good work.
Leon Boyd won a game against the Dominican and saved the other, and right here he freezes David Wright with that frisbee breaking ball from the side.
So 2 away, and Adam Dunn, who's 1 for 3. John Shambi Buck Martinez from Dolphins Stadium, an elimination game between the United States and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the 2009 World Baseball Classic. Here we are in Miami. It's Pool 2. The U.S., the Netherlands, Puerto Rico, and Venezuela. Those last 2 teams, Puerto Rico and Venezuela, will meet tomorrow night. And the loser of that one will play the winner of this one in another elimination game. As Dunn drives this one center field. Way back. There it goes. Out of here. A towering home run. Adam Dunn. It was as high as it was far. And the big guy able to get a hold of one and get it out of here. It is 8-0. Man, does he have some power.
Swinging the bat very well right now. Adam Dunn seeing it and putting it in play. He has hit 2 bullets here tonight. Had a hard single in right field in this last at bat. And this is a powerful home run hitter's stroke right there. Kingsale, no chance at all, and knows that it is well up on the hitter's background in center field.
I wasn't sure off the bat in looking at the trajectory, but the thing that made me think it was going to go was the sound.
Yeah. Distinct sound, and that's what good hitters will talk about all the time. I got a lot of sound there, and that happens when you hit the ball on the sweet part of the bat and you square it up.
Guys like Ryan Braun know what that sounds like. Have a listen right here. He knew. I will check with him next time.
Yeah, I tell you what, when big hitters hit the ball square, and it doesn't have to be big guys like Adam Dunn. Ryan Braun gets sound as well. I mean, he hits the ball, he squares it up. It's a different sound than everybody else.
What did it sound like when you hit it? It's hard to describe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you know what? You'll get all the great hitters to tell you that when they square it up, it's a different sound. And Adam Dunn's one of those guys.
40 or more homers, 5 straight seasons. Only guy active in the majors to have done that.
Going to be with the Nationals as soon as this tournament is over. Signed as a free agent.
Braun down on strikes, and that's that. But the sound of Adam Dunn adds a run. 8-0, the United States. We go to the 7th. The USA leading the Kingdom of the Netherlands 8-0. New pitcher Brad Ziegler put up, decent numbers with the A's last year.
You think?
How's a 106 ERA treating you?
59 2/3 innings. He walked just 22, and he baffled hitters when he came into the league. He came in, got so hot so early, and was getting everybody out. Nobody would talk to him. They didn't want to jinx him. He felt like he wasn't being welcomed into the clubhouse. And then he found out that everybody just felt like they were going to stay away because he was on such a hot run.
He's a pretty amazing story, Brad Ziegler, a guy who pitched collegiately at what was then Southwest Missouri State, now Missouri State. He was teammates there with the slugger Ryan Howard. Bouncer to third, and David Wright gloves it, and there's one away. And the main part of the story with Brad Ziegler is that he has had his skull fractured on the baseball field not once but twice. And one of the times it was actually Giants outfielder Fred Lewis who hit the ball that hit him, and yet here he is overcoming amazing odds. Brad Ziegler.
Yeah, and he was a conventional pitcher and just kind of floundering around in the minor leagues, and they decided to drop him down from the side, and as they say, the rest is history. But he got hit in the head in a line drive in a playoff game in a California league and knocked to the ground. Fractured his skull.
Yeah, he was in ICU on anti-seizure medication for months. He spent 6 days in the ICU.
He couldn't fly back home to Missouri, had to stay in California, and literally just moved in with a host family. But it was remarkable. His parents happened to be listening on the radio through the computer and heard the announcer say Ziegler is down and he's not moving. I mean, what kind of a traumatic experience is that for parents? And then once he got off the field, the trainer called the parents and said, he's okay. We got him up. He's fine. He's conscious. He walked off the field. But then later on that night in ICU, they found that he was having some bleeding and some fluid spread in his brain, and he had to have emergency procedure.
He's become a very valuable member of that Oakland bullpen, and an opportunity now to pitch for his country. Bounced off the plate on the bare hand. Rollins couldn't make the play, and Charlin scoop. Looks like he's got his first hit of the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, it's been a frustrating time for him. Do or die for Jimmy Rollins. Bare-handed attempt. Couldn't find the handle. Sneaks under his hand into the outfield. An infield hit. And that's what you get with Brad Ziegler. A lot of balls on the ground.
Buck just finish up on Brad Ziegler. The second skull fracture that happened was when he's playing catch with a friend, so was not in game competition, but on the field still, and that one was not quite as severe. But
baseball related, yeah, sure. Very unfortunate, but he is quite a young man. I had a chance to meet him the other day at the reception. A very pleasant guy, very appreciative of his situation in Oakland. Going to be an interesting ball club in Oakland this year.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that's interesting about it is, I mean, they've stockpiled a lot of prospects, a lot of good arms, but the one thing that Billy Beane went out and did, tried to bolster an offense that really struggled last year, as they get Matt Holliday, and now they have Jason Giambi, who should help.
Orlando Cabrera, the shortstop, Nomar Garcia, all veterans who have performed offensively in the past. And Matt Holliday, he has said time and time again, I'm not here just for 1 year. I'm going to play as if I'm going to stay here for the long term. And we all know Billy Beane's history. He rarely keeps his free agents. He lets them test the market, as he did with Giambi and Zito and Miguel Tejada.
Ground ball up the middle, past Roberts into center. So a base hit, to aboard with one out. How about our in-game box score for the Kingdom of the Netherlands? 6 hits yesterday, and King Sales had himself a good game. 9 hits in this one. You're talking about a group that was hitting 157 in 5 games coming in.
Yeah, and they are coming back here, and they certainly don't want to be victim of the mercy rule. I think that's probably in their minds right now. Only 2 runs away from that. Rob Delmonico said, you know what, I came into here thinking that, you know, there might be an opportunity for us to be mercy ruled, but so far, in his own words, he said, we haven't been boat raced yet.
The one main issue that this team's had, I mean, even tonight, 9 hits, all of them singles. And in the tournament now, you're talking about 187 at bats and 4 extra base hits. An 8-0 game here, top of the 7th. John Shelby, Buck Martinez, an elimination game. Round 2 of the 2009 World Baseball Classic, and we are in Pool 2 here in Miami. Other 2 teams, Venezuela and Puerto Rico. Winners to start, and they will meet tomorrow night. Felix Hernandez for Venezuela and Ian Snell for Puerto Rico, right here from Dolphin Stadium.
Well, the rest of the games in this pool should be very, very interesting games. Obviously, tomorrow, the winner of that game is, you know, going to be tough all throughout the tournament, and then the loser of that game will be fighting for its tournament life, just like Team USA if they should advance. Delmonico's club close to elimination, but what a run they've had. They have certainly made a splash around the baseball world.
Now, folks, this copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the World Baseball Classic Incorporated and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. David Wright, Team USA leading here. And a roller foul. 8-0 our score. Arundel DeCaster, the batter. 1 out of 3. Rod Delmonico, former head coach at the University of Tennessee, watching as Charlon Scoop is out there at second. Gene Kingsale at first. Fly ball right field. Dunn going back some more over his head. That'll get to the corner. Scoop in to score. They are going to stop Kingsale at third, and the first extra base hit of the night for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, and they get on the board. It's 8-1.
Incredible. Their determination and focus is never give up. This ball, the caster hits, it sails over the head of Adam Dunn all the way down into the corner. Charlon Scoop comes in to score. Kingsale stops at third. And every time you want to write these guys off, they bounce off the ropes and come right back in your face.
Still only one out. Randall Simon gets a piece there. Randall Simon, of course, from Curaçao. Good friends with Andrew Jones. No Andrew Jones on this team. No Jair Jurgens either on this team. He'd have been a big help. Golf to center. Granderson coming in. Makes the grab. And the throw gets in there quickly and on the money. Curtis Granderson showing off the arm. An excellent defensive outfielder.
No, he's a very good player all around, and he unloads a strong throw to the plate. One hop right to Chris Iannetta. And Curtis Granderson is a special player, getting better and better every season. He had a busy off season. He went to Switzerland to plead the case for baseball to be returned to the Olympics, and he also went to China on a baseball trip just to promote baseball and its growth in China. Quite the baseball ambassador.
Well, one of the things as it relates to the World Baseball Classic, the goal of this tournament is to grow the game globally. And the Olympics is a huge part of that. You can't just do it with the WBC. And the reason that the Olympics is so crucial to baseball and baseball's growth internationally, especially a place like China, money. In countries like China, the main way a sport is going to get money is if it is funded for growth in the Olympics. China is not going to put a lot of money towards baseball unless it is a sport that the country will participate in the Olympics, and that's how the dollars will go that way. That is why there is such a tie to Major League Baseball trying to grow the game and the Olympics.
Yeah, that's a great point, and there's certainly places where the game could grow even more. Italy, of course, in the Netherlands, it's become very big, and Davy Johnson was the manager of Team Netherlands in 2003, taking over for Robert Einhorn. Einhorn now the GM of this team, Team Netherlands. He's the general manager working in conjunction with Rod Delmonico to put the team together. And he is the director of the 6 academies in the Netherlands that are a 12-month facility to teach baseball.
Up the middle, and Rollins knocks it down but gathers it in and throws him out. Jimmy Rollins just does throw out Sidney DeYoung. The Netherlands picks up a run. It's 8-1. Back here, Dolphin Stadium, and in Miami, the U.S. leading the Kingdom of the Netherlands 8-1. And new pitcher on the mound, Dennis Neumann. Facing Chris Iannetta. Dennis Neumann, spelled N-E-U-M-A-N. Can I do it? Hello, Neumann.
Why not? Last season with the Gulf Coast Red Sox, 9 games, just 10 2/3 innings, and he's had a real emotional roller coaster here. He had a couple of walks in that tough loss in San Juan to Puerto Rico, and then bounced back the next night. Came up with a couple of big strikeouts.
Iannetta hits that one on a bounce. Scoop throws him out, one away. Got ourselves a good one tomorrow night right here in Miami. And the winners from day one, Venezuela and Puerto Rico, Felix Hernandez and Ian Snell, and both those guys with real good stuff.
Yeah, Felix Hernandez is the #1 pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. Very young, very talented. Emotionally, it'll be interesting to see how he can get into the flow of the game, because he has a tendency to get pretty well ramped up early in the ball game. Ian Snell with the Pittsburgh Pirates also takes a lot of pride in being able to pitch for his home country, Puerto Rico. So it's a very, very good pitching matchup tomorrow night.
Well, the early game yesterday was Venezuela edging the Kingdom of the Netherlands 3-1. The nightcap was a blowout. The U.S. was beaten 11-1 in a mercy rule shortened 7-inning game. So this here an elimination game. Right now looking like the Netherlands Cinderella run will come to a close, and tomorrow night the winners Puerto Rico and Venezuela will meet.
Two different styles of play, to be sure. Puerto Rico really came out offensively, but they have done a great job of preparing. They had very good at bats. They had situational at bats all night long to rack up the mercy rule win against Team USA. Jose Oquendo, the manager of Puerto Rico, Luis Sojo, the manager of Venezuela. And it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out, because you can bet all the hitters are going to be ready.
Granderson takes the walk. Rod Delmonico looking at his lineup card. Rod Delmonico made no secret of the fact that he was unhappy that Brian Roberts was allowed to be eligible for the United States roster in round 2. He replaced Dustin Pedroia on the roster for Team USA. Jimmy Rollins had himself a good night. He's knocked in 4. There's Brian Roberts, who's been huge. 3 hits, a single, a double, a triple, an RBI, and he's walked. So Rollins and Roberts have been the story.
Well, and Rod Delmonico was upset because he interpreted the rules to suggest that you couldn't replace a player within the round, and he was suggesting Brian Roberts shouldn't have been eligible, and in fact was probably a little bit more upset at the fact that no one had informed him that Roberts was eligible in the pool until he saw the lineup.
Interesting. Now, the way the rules set up, help at the catching position is sort of where you start. If a catcher gets injured, you can replace him in the middle of the pool. Now, stop right there. One of the changes from 2006, roster size is reduced from 30 to 28. So roster size is reduced, but they want to make sure, just in case a catcher gets hurt, that you can replace a catcher in the middle of the pool. But that does not apply for any other position.
No. It's the unique defensive position of catcher that you have to be able to replace, or it would become a real travesty if you tried to put a position player back there, and that just wouldn't work.
Rollins takes that one downstairs. So now 2-2 on the Team USA shortstop, who's been splitting time with Derek Jeter. Jeter starting as the DH because Chipper Jones was scratched with a bad oblique. Rollins pops this one up. Shallow center. Late start Kingsale. 2 away with a man at first, and our in-game box score for Team USA. Roberts and Rollins, they've been huge. Jimmy's knocked in 4. Brian's been on base 3 times. Adam Dunn has hit a home run, and Ryan Braun's continued his hot hitting.
Lots of power up and down this order, and you got all the extra base hitting from a couple of unlikely sources. When you've got Braun and Dunn in the lineup, you expect them to be the guys that hit the home runs and extra base hits, but it was Rollins and Roberts tonight. They did all the damage and certainly got Team USA off and running.
With 2 outs, this is a bad choice, but I'll let you carry the answer over to the 8th. Are there any rules that you think need to be added or changed that are really important to either add or change that would help this tournament? As someone that has seen it up close, Buck, you managed Team USA back in 2006. I mean, they changed the roster, so now they're smaller. It's going to double elimination. Any rules you'd like to see changed or improved?
It's not necessarily a rule, but I think Marcel Latchman, the pitching coach for Team USA, has really been handcuffed this time because he got the restrictions of using several of his bullpen pitchers for only 1 inning. I think you should live with the pitch count. That's the rule. Live with the pitch count and don't put that kind of burden on Team USA. But a lot of the pitchers came to Marcel Latchman right there with restrictions. Use my guy for an inning, please. And he certainly abides by that. He's been a manager and a pitching coach in the big league for a long time.
Yeah, and again, the restrictions set by the team. I do think that one of the interesting aspects is that, I mean, this is a tournament that is put together by Major League Baseball in an attempt to help grow the game. But make this point, it's hard for this tournament to consistently be a success if teams, specifically general managers, are going to undercut it.
Yeah. I mean, you either support it 100% or you get rid of it. And I think that has been a challenge. And there's going to be a lot of discussion after this tournament this year. Second time, you should have a better feel for how to really make it work and how to make it be successful.
Jeter hits it to third. Roy up with it. Goes to second. They get the out. And that's that. End of 7. It's 8-1. Now, you talk about great comebacks. Kingdom of the Netherlands upsetting the Dominican Republic and did a little bit of everything. It all got started, though, with Sidney de Jong and then the Aaron pickoff throw and Yurendel de Caster off of Willie Ibar's glove.
After falling behind in the top of the 11th, they scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 11th to win 2-1 to beat the Dominican Republic for a second time in that pool down in San Juan.
High fly ball right field, and that one is out of here. Wow. Brian Engelhardt touches up Matt Lindstrom, and it's an 8-2 game. That was a no-doubter.
Well, you talk about hammering the pitch. We mentioned that the Netherlands hadn't had but 4 extra base hits. That is the first home run they've hit in the tournament, and this is a big home run. No stride, great follow through. Look how deep that is. 15-20 rows back in right field.
Yeah, he had an idea that was gone. He let Matt Lindstrom, who can hit triple digits on the radar gun, supply the power. And now Vince Roy looking out to the hill, and some of the players from the Netherlands not real happy.
Yeah, this is unfortunate in a tournament of this magnitude, and I don't understand Lindstrom throwing the ball behind Roy. Watch this. I mean, that's clearly behind him. I don't know where this comes from. Certainly there's no history here, but after that long home run, he threw the fastball all the way behind him, and I don't blame the Netherlands for being upset. It certainly didn't look very good. Nobody knows what's in the mind of Matt Lindstrom right now, but boy, that certainly didn't look good, and I don't blame Vince Roy one bit.
His teammates are very unhappy. Rod Delmonico came out and was really barking at Bruce Dreckman, the plate umpire. Ed Rapuano, the veteran, there he is to the right, just left the screen, is the crew chief.
I mean, baseball is universal in that regard. Hitters know when a guy misses, and then when a guy throws one behind you, I mean, there's no accident. Bob Delmonico out again to talk to Bruce Dreckman. And he's probably saying, well, why can't you throw him out of the game? Because he has that ability. Eddie Rapuano, the veteran umpire, comes in to calm the situation again.
Buck, if you're looking for a reason, the only thing I can think of, and I am in no way saying it's right, but maybe how long he stayed at the plate and the hop.
Possibly.
I don't know. Maybe that was the thing that Matt Lindstrom objected to.
Well, nobody likes being shown up, but I don't know if that was enough to warrant throwing it behind the guy.
Fly ball right field. Victorino, the new right fielder.
Well, Vince Roy ran right past Matt Lindstrom on the way back to the dugout, and obviously upset. Fortunately, he didn't do anything, but he wanted Lindstrom to feel his presence, and he certainly did that.
I think Kevin Youkilis started making his way towards the mound when he realized that Vince Roy was heading in that direction.
Right here. He wanted to make him aware that I didn't appreciate what you did, and I made note of it, and Youkilis was on it because he was trailing Roy right to the mound.
Absolutely. And give you an idea, but nobody touches the mound walking or trotting back to the dugout ever.
Now that's sacred ground for pitchers, and certainly hitters don't go back there.
So now Danny Rombley. Rombley, the right fielder. Dirk Van Kloster started. Kurt Smith pinch hit for him, and then Rombley took over defensively. 8-2 game here in Miami, an elimination game. The 2009 World Baseball Classic. 16 teams playing 39 games over 19 days. We're down to 8 teams. And with the conclusion of this game, we will be down to 7 teams. And a walk by Lindstrom. Matt Lindstrom aggravating and agitating the Kingdom of the Netherlands team. All on their feet, lined up across that dugout top step. Charno Adriana is the pinch hitter.
Longtime minor leaguer, veteran of 9 seasons in Mexico, and after this tournament he will rejoin his team in Veracruz. He's an experienced hitter that understands what it means to have a ball thrown behind you. And remember, this day started off very tumultuous for Rod Delmonico. He was agitated that Brian Roberts was eligible to participate in this round.
Sure.
And he felt like the rules weren't interpreted properly.
That one eats up Youkilis into right. Victorino over to get it. A base hit for Adriana. And Rombley stops at third. They're at the corners.
Now there's the emotional leader, Randall Simon, encouraging his teammates as that ball takes a wicked hop on Kevin Youkilis. Goes down the line.
So 1 out, runners at first and third. Charlotte scoop. Infield single his last time up. First hit of the turning. He's 1 out of 21. And Mark DeRosa was taken over defensively for David Wright at third. Big hit for the U.S. back in the second when Jimmy Rollins hit that 2-run homer. There's Shane Victorino, the new right fielder, taking over for Adam Dunn. And Victorino tested. Drifts back some more, and he makes the catch. Rombley will tag and score from third, moving up to second Adriana, and it's an 8-3 game.
Now, obviously, they are refueled with what has happened in this inning, and Adriana talking to Jimmy Rollins and whittling into that lead a bit here with a couple of runs. And now the trainer's going to come out and talk to Matt Lindstrom. Now, wouldn't this be ironic that Lindstrom in this inning, and look at the trainer, he's saying no, he's not going to let him continue. That's Dave Tumbas, who has been the trainer twice on this team, and he looked like he just told Davey Johnson, we can't let him continue. He did something that was recognized from the bench, and the trainer is not going to allow Matt Lindstrom to talk him out of it. But the emotions of giving up a home run and then throwing a ball behind the hitter, he got all charged up, and he has created a physical problem for himself. Obviously, we don't know what it is, but Dave Tumbas, the trainer, said, no, you're not continuing in this game. There's something that I don't like about what I see from the dugout.
So Matt Lindstrom done for the night, and apparently sustained some type of injury or may have aggravated something there. We'll take a look at this, see if we can find what's wrong.
Watch the follow through. And you can see how he's kind of swinging his right arm, and just the trainer, the veteran trainer, Dave Tumbas, and then you see him stretching his shoulder and back right there. That's what he didn't like right there. That movement there, like, something didn't feel good. And boy, kudos to the training staff of Team USA to bring it to a halt right there. You can see Davey Johnson talking about what they saw. Marcel Latchman, he has been a pitcher himself, longtime pitching coach, former manager of the Angels. A lot of experience in that dugout, and they didn't like what they saw, and that's a major concern. And you're always looking for something unusual from the dugout. A pitcher wincing in reaction to a pitch, but yeah, they pulled him right out of there, and the trainer was not going to be talked into leaving him in this game.
So again, with the injury, John Graybo's got as much time as he needs to get loose. Graybo, who did appear in the game last night and through a scoreless inning, actually struck out a pair. Left-hander with the Pirates, and an excellent reliever.
Yeah, he is a guy that can get that breaking ball down and away to left-handers. He's going to switch Kingsale over to the right side, and they saw him a bit before, and they saw him certainly against the Puerto Rico team, so they got a bit of an idea about him. He is one of those guys that was a starter, made the conversion, and has become very effective for the Pirates.
So 2 outs here in the 8th, and an 8-3 game from Dolphin Stadium, and Team USA got some help early from the little guy. Jimmy Rollins, that 2-run homer, made it 3-0, Buck. That was the big hit.
Well, it sure was, and Roy Oswalt took it from there. Anytime you get an ace pitcher like Oswalt, an early lead, he's going to turn it into a W. And then Jimmy Rollins again in the 4th inning with an RBI triple, and right behind Jimmy Rollins, the second baseman Brian Roberts. Back-to-back RBI triples in the 4th inning. That really catapulted the Team USA, and then Adam Dunn against Leon Boyd goes big time deep to center field. His 3rd home run in the WBC. A little punctuation mark for Team USA. Then the fireworks began. After a home run off the bat of Brian Engelhardt, Vince Roy, the next batter, stands in, and Matt Lindstrom throws one completely behind him. And the Netherlands came out of the dugout, obviously very upset by that, but since then Lindstrom has left with an apparent injury.
Ball to strike to Gene Kingsale, who is 2 out of 4. And with 7 hits in the tournament, leads everybody on the Netherlands team.
If that indeed is the reason that Thornton threw the pitch behind him, the fact that Engelhardt took a little bit of time and enjoyed the home run, just think how silly that is. Because now he may have injured himself in a meaningless game with a comfortable lead, where you let your ego get involved and say, man, you can't do that against me. I'm a big league pitcher.
But you know something, Buck, for me, and I know we'll go a little new school versus old school, it underlines how silly the code can be because it's subjective.
Yeah.
You're being shown up as my, you know, getting my ego bruised, or
it's an emotional game, obviously, and the Netherlands hadn't hit a home run in the game, and they've had this Cinderella story, and the guy takes a big swing and connects with one, and he's just kind of overwhelmed in the moment. Now, is that intentional just to show up Matt Lindstrom? I don't think so.
Right. And ball 4. So Grabo walks Kingsale, and first and second and 2 away. Yeah, it's just, but it's one of those things. It's always been that way, whether it's showing somebody up or protecting your player.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, this one is still not done, just from the standpoint of, does somebody from the Netherlands then buzz a U.S. hitter in the bottom of the 8th? High fly ball left field. Braun back. And Ryan has it, and that's the inning. But the Kingdom of the Netherlands picks up a couple of runs. It's an 8-3 game as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Well, bottom of the 8th, and another pitching change. Barry Von Driel will take over. And the U.S. leading it 8-3. An elimination game here from Pool 2 in Miami. Round 2 of the World Baseball Classic. And there are the numbers for Barry Von Driel. Kevin Youkilis to start it off.
I'm not so sure Kevin Youkilis was really certain that was going to be over the plate. Expecting maybe some retribution for the throw behind Roy. Hopefully not. Like to think that that will be left to lie.
No, you hope. You don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No.
For sure. Kevin Youkilis coming off a season where he hit 29 homers, knocked in 115, hit .312. Has one of the most unique batting stances you will find. You know, Buck, the other part of his stance that's interesting, look at the feet so close together. It's not just the hands. As he takes his base. So a walk to start out the bottom of the 8th. And coming up tomorrow night, Venezuela and Puerto Rico, 8 o'clock Eastern time. That's from here in Miami, and then 11 o'clock Eastern from Petco Park in San Diego. Pool 1 action. Cuba will take on the loser of Mexico and South Korea. DeRosa lines that to short for 1 out, but Youkilis able to get back.
Right on the button, but right at the shortstop. Charlon scoop.
Delmonico's done such a great job with his Netherlands team. Looks like the fairy tale run is going to come to a close here this evening. Shane Victorino at the plate, his first at bat of the night.
Well, everybody kind of reacting as if that was intentional. If it was, it makes no sense whatsoever. I don't think it was at all.
Well, why would you wait?
Oh, why pick on Shane Victorino?
Yeah.
The protocol, if there is such a thing as far as retribution, is to get the first guy that steps in.
Right.
And certainly not a guy that's just entered the game defensively and the littlest guy on the team.
It is such an interesting one, though, just because, you know, Engelhardt hit the home run. Vince Roy sitting there going, I didn't do anything.
But I'll tell you, when I first came in the major leagues, that was standard practice.
Sure.
Guy ahead of you hits a home run, you're getting dusted. And that was just part of the game. I mean, that was just automatic.
It's kind of silly when you break it down, though. You know, I absolutely. It's
one of my first games against Louis Tion. I believe he was in Cleveland, Minnesota at the time. Joe Foy hit a home run ahead of me. I'm 20 years old. He knocks me down. I mean, that was bad enough.
Lifted in the air and Scoop has it.
But then I was standing at home plate and he walks off the mound toward me and says, what are you looking at? I said, nothing, Mr. Tion, nothing.
After the pop out, Brian McCann is going to get an at bat here for Ryan Braun. Adam Dunn with a home run in this game, and Team USA leading it 8-3 and setting up what looks to be a date on Tuesday here at Dolphin Stadium with the loser of tomorrow night's game between Venezuela and Puerto Rico. McCann hits that pretty well, left center field. Engelhardt on the move, and that one's going to be off the wall. Racing around third on his way to the plate is Kevin Youkilis. And it's 9-3. And Brian McCann showing off that sweet, sweet swing with the power to left center.
Brian McCann is one of the premier hitters, not just a premier hitting catcher. He can hit. Great approach at the plate. Had a big at bat last night in that lopsided loss to Puerto Rico. But look at the determination and how he stays on that ball that's away from him. Last night he had a 2-strike breaking ball off Javi Vasquez for an RBI double down the right field line, and here he drives home Kevin Youkilis.
In the air right field, and over there Rombley makes the play. Iannetta retired, and that's that. We'll go to the ninth. Last chance for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Well, back here in Miami, the U.S. leading 9-3, trying to close this one out. Hey, look who's in left field. Brian McCann getting a chance to do some glove work in the outfield and saying to Curtis Granderson, I'm going to stand here and you get everything else.
Yeah, and you know what? Brian McCann is going to have a little fun with this, too. You can bet he'll be talking about that when he gets back to the Braves camp. Yeah, I played left in the World Baseball Classic. Jonathan Broxton comes on to wrap it up here, and this is a big-time closer. Guy at the end of the game that can bring it. 70 games last year with the Dodgers, of ERA at 3.13, and look at the strikeouts. 88 strikeouts in 69 innings.
First one to Randall Simon in for his strike. So a 9-3 game, an elimination game, and the Kingdom of the Netherlands down to their final 3 outs. Been quite a ride for Rod Delmonico's team. They have played very hard. They've done a great job fundamentally. For the most part, really until tonight, they pitched well. Lack of offense been an issue the whole way, but they've hung in and hung around.
Yeah, they sure have, and they never really got manhandled until tonight. They were in a close game against Puerto Rico late into that game. They lost 5-0.
Roller to the right side as Brian Roberts picks it up, and there's one out. Today the NCAA tournament brackets went out for college basketball, so the field of 65 put together. And when you think of that tournament or any tournament, the Cinderella is what you're always looking for. That's the part of the hook, part of the story, and the feel-good run of an underdog. And I don't think that any team has captured it better than Rod Delmonico's Kingdom of the Netherlands.
No, they really did a good job of preparing this ball club for this tournament, and they ended up with a couple of wins, and you know, had Venezuela on the ropes in that game, and it was a couple of long home runs from Miguel Cabrera and Jose Lopez that proved to be the difference in that game.
This guy can bring it. You see 97.
He tapping his leg as if to remind himself, stay back over the rubber. Don't jump at the hitter. Stay in your good delivery, and the ball will come out of your hand truer and with a little more pop. Like that.
Well, there's some good arms down there in that U.S. bullpen, to be sure. Roy Oswalt started 4 shutout innings for the little righty. Struck out 5, did not walk a batter. U.S. leading 9-3. The big righty from Georgia back to work. Wow. 98 with that heater. There's 2 gone.
Yeah, the Dodgers aren't too concerned about the back end of their bullpen. They're a little concerned about the starting staff. But right here, Jonathan Broxton blows away Sidney DeYoung. Good fastball upstairs. Tough for anybody to catch up to that.
Well, it looks like it is just about to turn midnight on Cinderella. And it's left up to, look who, Brian Engelhardt, the big home run his last time up. Comes up empty there. The United States getting ready to advance, and the U.S. would play the loser of Venezuela and Puerto Rico. Buck, one other note. I don't think that I have specifically mentioned it. The other part of the Venezuela-Puerto Rico matchup, the winner of that game is guaranteed to move on to the semifinals.
Right. 2 wins in the pool would propel them to Los Angeles. The only thing left in the balance would be the pool winner, and that will be determined by Game 6 of this pool.
Broxton got to finish off Engelhardt, and he lays off there. 1-2. Team USA bouncing back from an 11-1 mercy rule shortened 7-inning loss to Puerto Rico last night here at Dolphin Stadium. The 1-2. Chopper out to short. Rollins. Ball game. Team USA eliminates the Kingdom of the Netherlands as Jonathan Broxton closes it down. The final here tonight, 9-3. And I think this is what we expected a little more of last night from Team USA.
Yeah, I think so. Davey Johnson got a great start from Roy Oswalt. Top of the order doing all the damage. Jimmy Rollins, Brian Roberts got it going early. And Team USA put 12 hits on the board, including a long home run by Adam Dunn and a 2-run shot by Jimmy Rollins. USA flexed their muscles tonight.
No doubt. Roy Oswalt, very sharp in 4 shutout innings, gets the win. Oswalt over Vanden Hurk, and Rod Delmonico waving at the fans. The Cinderella run for the Netherlands comes to a close. Final here tonight, 9-3 from Dolphin Stadium. And a look at the standings here in Pool 2. And the U.S. awaiting the loser of Puerto Rico and Venezuela. The Netherlands has been eliminated. So from 16 teams to start this tournament down to 8, we are now down to 7 teams in the 2009 World Baseball Classic. 9-3 the final here from Dolphin Stadium as the United States eliminates the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And the U.S. will play the loser of Venezuela and Puerto Rico. We'll be back to Dolphin Stadium right after this. back here in Miami. Our final score, the United States over the Kingdom of the Netherlands, 9-3. John Shambi and Buck Martinez with you. And the U.S. last night with a tough night, but got off to a good start offensively, Buck.
Well, they sure did, and it was all about Jimmy Rollins, top of the order. He hits this long home run off Rick Vandenhurst. That came in the second inning, and Roy Oswalt took it from there. Great curveball, works early in the ball game, and Rollins continues to tear up the Netherlands pitching staff. He hits a triple to the opposite field. That was in the fourth inning, and then right behind him, the newest member of Team USA, Brian Roberts, delivers a back-to-back triple. He drives in the run. Roberts and Rollins doing it all, and then a great play with the bases loaded, nobody out. Randall Simon gets the lead runner, but it was just too much power from Team USA as Adam Dunn delivers a long home run into the sixth inning to deep center field. He's had 3 home runs in the series, and then Brian Engelhardt hits the first home run for the Netherlands deep into the seats in right off Matt Lindstrom, and that would lead to this pitch, the next pitch behind Vince Roy. Netherlands players came out of the dugout, but nothing happened, but they were very upset by that. Lindstrom would leave with an injury, and then later on, Jonathan Broxton comes out of the bullpen for a 1-2-3 ninth inning to wrap it up, and the Netherlands players acknowledging their fans and the support throughout the first 2 rounds of this tournament.
Yeah, they deserve a great hand here in this one. Rick Vandenhurst not particularly sharp. Roy Oswalt was 9-3. The final, Jimmy Rollins and Brian Roberts at the top of the order. 5 out of 7 knocked in 5 of the 9 runs, and as opposed to last night where the U.S. really struggled in spots 1 through 4. That's where they got the production tonight.
Well, they sure did, and it's an upbeat kind of offense when you have Jimmy Rollins and Brian Roberts in the top of the order 1-2, and I don't care how you use them. You could flip-flop them, use them both ways, first and second, but they bring a lot of energy to your lineup. And John, I think we're going to see this style of baseball creep into the big leagues a little bit more and more as it's required now to be athletic, and that speed game is going to come back in vogue, in my mind, in Major League Baseball.
All right, a reminder coming up after our game, the World Baseball Classic continues. Mexico taking on South Korea from Petco Park in San Diego. Coverage starts at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Check your local listings for the games and times in your region. The World Baseball Classic, baseball spoken here. So a good one right there, Mexico and South Korea coming up. And tomorrow it'll be Venezuela and Puerto Rico, and a bid to the semifinals on the line, 8 o'clock right here from Miami. And then at 11 o'clock, Petco Park in San Diego, Cuba. Losers today to Japan 6-0. They'll take on the loser of the Mexico-South Korea game. Well, Buck, the U.S. came out and played well and put it to Rod Delmonico and the Netherlands. The Cinderella run is over, but fun to watch.
Yeah, we certainly saw a lot of players we weren't that familiar with and what they could do in a tournament of this magnitude, but too much experience for Team USA finally ends the Cinderella trip for the Netherlands. Great defense, good power, excellent pitching all night long.
Good one here tonight. 9-3 the final. The U.S. eliminates Netherlands. Mexico and South Korea coming up. For Buck Martinez, I'm John Shambi saying so long from Miami.